Hello. What's up, kiddo?
How's it going?
It's going good. Yeah, I can hear you really well.
Fantastic. Fantastic. I just gotta get this better now you're in my ear.
Sweet, sweet, sweet. Sorry, I was let me text somebody real quick. So how you doing?
I'm good. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna drop
I know Mason's show isn't over yet, so still
it
just
is.
waiting on him. Oh, okay.
I'm gonna drop down
Mason's
to
show was over a while ago.
Oh, okay. Well, cool. It's my dad's birthday, so I'm texting him happy birthday.
Happy birthday.
Happy birthday, Papa. So, what's up with you, Trev? Trivity
Just
Trev.
chilling, man. That was Mace had a very good show earlier.
Excellent.
Very well done.
How were the pedophile hunters, or I should say pederast hunters?
Yeah, they're very interesting. You know, the one guy, Mike, had to get out of it because it was just destroying his mind.
Yeah,
right?
I can imagine.
It's just a lot of people sit back and say, yeah, pedophile hunting. I should get out and do that. It sounds easy to people. It's like, yeah, not so fast. Like this is stuff like, you know, people also, people in law enforcement have to go through this, and luckily they go through some training, but having to go to horrific crime scenes and
my dad was a state trooper and policeman for 30 years. So.
Oh wow.
Yeah, he's seen some shit.
I'm
sure he's seen many destroyed bodies and crashes. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Oh, let's get Bruce up here too, Thomas. He'll be great.
Bruce is more than welcome to come up here. I'm not immediate. I got to wait on Perry because he's about to be here. So
he's with us.
Perry just hopped in.
With us.
Sweet.
Yeah.
And Scott's coming too, but he sent a message. He'll be here in a second.
Hey,
sweet.
I'll try and I might join in a little bit on the convo, but I'll probably just listen a little bit.
Yeah, it's going to be a lecture for a while. I got a lot to cover tonight, so we'll be going over a lot of stuff. Yeah. My room's more of like a group study. So
right. I remember. Yeah.
Read some stuff, discuss, and we'll set it up like that because it's usually more fun like that to me anyway.
Yeah, that's great.
Who cares what they say?
Ooh, what is that, Hohenheim?
I don't know what that was.
Sorry, I have a soundboard thing here. It's really cool, but sorry.
Well, Bruce, I was just going to ask you how you been, man. I hadn't talked to you in a while.
Yeah, man, it's hard for me to get a lot of time away. Just life is busy, man. I've got 4 children, multiple jobs.
Say no more.
My church lost their pastor, so I'm stepping in as I preach probably once or twice a month now, and so it's it's busy times. So it's hard for me to get time. Yeah,
that's insane, dude. The 4 kids and multiple jobs and all that. You are a trooper, my brother. I salute you.
Yeah, but I do wish I could come out more on this, but it's just so hard to have time.
I'd love for you to. If you ever do get free time, I'll always be here on Friday nights, and you're always welcome. So.
Yeah, thanks, man.
Yeah, dude. Always. Scott's ass is always late. Fashionably late, as always.
Scott.
Yeah. That's that Colorado life right there.
What's Dal's do? Let me get Dal on here.
Dal, get up here. Where are you?
He's coming. I just said, come on. Hopefully he's... What is it for you guys? It's 6 p.m. He should be off work by now.
Dal's a Taoist hippie, man.
He's a non-dualist hippie.
He knows the way. He'll just dictate when he comes in the room.
The way.
Dal is one of my favorite people on the planet. I love Dal.
When you can take this pebble from my hand, you will know the way.
Exactly.
Grasshopper, take a pebble from hand.
There's not a lot of Eastern folks on here, right? Like not usually.
Well, we got Salman. We got.
Oh yeah, Salman's my boy.
Yeah, he's great.
He's from the United Arab Emirates.
That's like Middle East though.
Yeah. No, I don't know of any.
Like
well,
Far East.
Hohenheim's technically in Thailand, so
that's true. That's fair. Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
What's the question? What? I'm playing with
No,
myself.
there's just not a lot of people from the Far East on here.
like China,
Asia, South Pacific.
China.
or
Yeah.
I would imagine South Korea would
Yeah.
be a place. But I mean, it's the English gap. I'm sure call-in is very high percentage English.
It's hard. Yeah, that's probably the big barrier. Is the English is difficult over there for them to get their points across because it's not as native to most people.
Can you imagine trying to learn Mandarin at our ages now?
Oh man, I had a foreign exchange student a couple of years ago. I had a foreign exchange student about 4 years ago. She was from China, and I tried my hardest to get some phrases and things here and there. Man, it's very hard, very hard. I can't imagine learning it at this age.
No, me either. It'd be insane.
My brother is doing that with his kids, though. My brother is his children are babysat by a Chinese native speaker, and so they're doing both. So he's in Hawaii.
Bilingual.
And they're learning. They're learning Chinese and English.
That's going to give them better opportunities at jobs and stuff, man. That's good.
Oh, it's crazy. Yeah. These kids are smart.
Oh, yeah.
Don't
kids
you
soak
guys
it up.
mean China?
China. Tremendous China.
Yeah.
It is big. It's very big.
It's huge.
Okay.
Huge.
China all the time.
That's
China.
A good one.
It's China all the time.
Oh my God, I love that soundboard. That's good. All right, well, F Scott, because he's a d-bag. Me and Perry and Hohenheim and Travis and Bruce. What I do basically is we're just gonna. So I'll just jump into it. Tonight is the history of philosophical skepticism. So last week we covered philosophical skepticism and the general nature of how it is seen as a set of categories with multiple types of different skeptic ideologies and methodologies that we went over. We overviewed it. We went over the global skeptical scenarios, radical skepticism, looking at it through different classification lenses of local and radical. We looked at skepticism as an epistemological foundation, basically based in justification of beliefs, the reasons why skeptical epistemologists are fallibilist or infallibilist based on their epistemology. And then, of course, we went over criticisms, mainly just there's basically 3 criticisms, and we went over them pretty well last week. So hopefully you guys can go back and check out the series. We're almost done with epistemology. We're getting there. We're getting pretty close. Last episode's probably going to be meta-epistemology and the problem of the criterion, and we'll get into that a little bit. But it's coming up soon, so hopefully you guys are excited like I am for the linguistics and formal language and semantics episodes. So that'll be coming soon. But anyway, tonight is the philosophy of the history of Western skepticism. We're going to cover that first, and I may cover a little bit of Eastern skepticism, but the big part to understand is that we're going to understand how these philosophers thought about skepticism throughout the ages. So, Perry, you with me?
Yes, sir. You
All
see
right.
me on the camera?
So, I do see you on the camera. All right, so just for future reference to people listening, I do a lot of my show in reason for people to be able to listen to it in the future. So right now we're going to keep our panel up here, and when Scott gets here, he'll be a part of our panel, and we're going to meticulously go through this information and see if we can't reason it out and help other people get some good examples in their mind. But we're not going to be taking callers until we get through it. So just bear with me. Hope you enjoy listening to this kind of stuff, because this is what I love to do. And let's get into it. Basically, the first thing, and you know a shitload about this, Perry, so you can just talk about it. Ancient Greek skepticism is the beginning of history of Western skepticism, right? The ancient Greek skeptics were not skeptics in like the contemporary sense of the selected localized doubt, specific philosophical skeptical ideas, but their concerns were epistemological. Truth claims could not be adequately supported, noting that beliefs caused mental distress. So the Western tradition of systematic skepticism goes back at least as far as Pyrrho of Elis, and that would be 360 BCE. And arguably Xenophanes, I hope I said that right, Xenophanes, 570 BCE. So a little bit further out than Pyrrho. Parts of skepticism, in the general sense, also appear among the 5th century sophists, right? So we got to remember that these ancient Greeks, the Parmenides, Heraclitus, all these people, they didn't call themselves skeptics, and they didn't think about it in that way. But so parts of skepticism, we got somebody having some noise coming in the background, guys. You got it? All right, cool. So parts of skepticism also appear among the 5th century sophists, 5th century BC, who developed forms of debate which are ancestors of skeptical argumentation. So those sophists were doing skeptical argumentation. They just didn't see it that way at the time. So they took pride in arguing in a persuasive fashion for both sides of an issue. So that was the beginning of skepticism, not of the middle ground, but maybe perhaps of the fluctuation ground, where you're constantly changing your beliefs and ideas as things change, because everything is becoming. So it's in flux, as Heraclitus used to say. So that's where they got their skepticism from. In Hellenistic philosophy, which is a little bit later than ancient Greek philosophy, it goes ancient Greek, classical Greek, which is SPA, and then it goes to Hellenistic in terms of Greek. And a lot of it blends into Roman traditions and philosophy too. And of course, a lot of this died out as soon as Christianity took over Rome and things like, it was changed to the state religion and shit like that, because Stoicism and Epicureanism and all these different schools that we're talking about right now were very, very big in Rome as well. So, like other Hellenistic, in Hellenistic philosophy, Pyrrhonism and academic skepticism were the two schools of skeptical philosophy. So subsequently, the words academic and Pyrrhonist were often used to mean skeptic, so they were synonymous with each other. Pyrrhonism, like other Hellenistic philosophies, was about attaining eudaimonia, or the good life, or a sense of their kind of nirvana, right? Well, that would be ataraxia. Eudaimonia is the seeking of the good life, which the Pyrrhonists sought through achieving ataraxia, just like the Epicureans, which they found could be induced by producing a state of epoche, suspension of judgment. I think I'm saying that right. Techne, epoche, I can't remember the other two, but anyway, Aristotle terms. So they found could be induced by producing a state of epoche regarding non-evident matters. So epoche could be produced by pitting one dogma against another to undermine belief, and by questioning whether a belief could be justified. Oh, excuse me, I read that wrong. Let me read that again. Epoche, or suspension of judgment, could be produced by pitting one dogma against another to undermine the belief, and by questioning whether a belief could be justified. In supporting of this questioning, Pyrrhonists developed the skeptical arguments cited above in the 10 modes of Anesdemus and the 5 modes of Agrippa, demonstrating that beliefs cannot be justified. So what do you say about this part of ancient Greek skepticism and Pyrrhonism and the beginnings of this, Perry?
Well, we definitely see that when we talk amongst ourselves, when we believe that we've encountered some sort of dogma of some sort, we use skepticism. I mean, that is pretty much the antidote to trying to undermine whatever dogma we feel as though that we hear.
It's a methodology.
And so you said that this started around 360 BC.
Well, they said Xenophanes was 570 BCE, but remember before, before the 10 modes of Anaxidemus and the five modes of Agrippa, which are just basically syllogistic arguments for understanding that our senses can fuck us over and can't really be trusted. But it really began with Pyrrho of Elis, of course, and then then the Pyrrhonists later on developed these skeptical arguments, or what they called epoche. So,
because Socrates was like in the 400 BCs, right? So
yes.
This was happening even before then, and I'm sure obviously Plato and Socrates kind of popularized.
Well, shit. When was Parmenides? Do you remember? He's one of the oldest. Yeah, do me a quick search if you don't mind. I don't want to lose where I'm at.
Thales was like one of the oldest. Let's see, Parmenides, 540.
540.
Flourished around 500, but
so the earliest is going to be around 600. Does that sound right?
Yeah.
I'm not too. Okay.
Yeah. Well,
that would make sense.
I mean, Thales was 624 BC, and
okay.
I mean, I don't know.
Those are all the pre-Socratics, yeah.
Yeah,
and I'm sure we don't know
a dose of skepticism in their thought, skepticism. So.
Well, if they were critical thinkers and they were intuiting nature, yeah, I would assume that skepticism would come to them in some way. As I've cited, basically the sophists, and they were just attempting to pit two dogmas against each other and undermine the belief by being skeptical about it, by being philosophically skeptical about it, but using it as a methodology. But what were you saying?
Well, can you say what Agrippa was again? It was a syllogism.
Agrippa is the same. Agrippan modes, Agrippan tropes. Is that what? Yeah, modes of Agrippa. I'll get the five modes of Agrippa, which Agrippa's the same person who came up with the Munchausen Agrippan trilemma. The justification problems and all that stuff that we've covered ad nauseum. All right, so we know that Pyrrhonism was one of the first. So I would read this quote by Pyrrho, but it includes a lot of Greek terms that I don't even know if I want to try to learn. I'm just going to be lazy on this one. But it is said that Pyrrho, extolled a way to be happy and tranquil. He was looking for ataraxia just as much as Epicurus. So let's move on to Anaxidemus. Okay? Aenesidemus. So Pyrrhonism faced as a movement following the death of Pyrrho's student Timon. The academy became slowly more dogmatic, such that in the 1st century BCE, Anaxidemus denounced the academics as Stoics fighting against Stoics, breaking with the academy to revive Pyrrhonism. So Anaxidemus's best known contribution to skepticism was his now lost book Pyrrhonian Discourses, which is only known to us through Photius and Sextus Empiricus, and to a lesser degree Diogenes. The skeptical arguments most closely associated with Anaxidemus are the 10 modes described above that I just said a moment ago that induce epoche. So what did you find on him? Anything extra?
On Anaxidemus?
Mm-hmm.
No.
Okay. He seemed to revive Pyrrhonism is what it's looking like.
Yeah, I mean, what did you mean by Stoic versus Stoic? Like that was what they were doing at the time, and he wanted to go back.
Yeah, it said the academy, when Timon died, it said the academy became slowly more dogmatic, such that in the 1st century BCE, Anaxidemus denounced the academics, as Stoic fighting against Stoics. I guess he's considering the academics Epicureanism, Stoicism,
right.
Platonism, things like that, like the Platonic Academy and shit.
And he thought that those were dogmatic in a sense?
I guess so, because he resurrected the Pyrrhonian discourse.
Okay.
Apparently, we don't have the Pyrrhonian discourses that he wrote, but we know it through Photius and Sextus Empiricus. and Diogenes a little bit. Remember, Diogenes is the dude who's lived out in nature and was like ultra radical skeptic. You know what I mean?
Well, he was part of the Cynics, and the Cynics influenced the Epicureans and the skeptics of that time and the Stoicists.
That's right.
So
that's right.
So it's all intertwined in some way.
Let's go around the room. Hohenheim, you got anything good on what we're talking about, Pyrrhonism and things like that? Any comments?
No, you guys go ahead. This is great.
Excellent. Excellent. All right, cool. All right, let's go back to it, Perry. You're doing awesome helping me look this shit up.
Yeah,
all right, so there.
If you need me to like look something up while you're talking.
Well, go to Stanford Encyclopedia and let's go to Sextus Empiricus because he's going to be a big part of this.
Yeah, Empiricus. That's a cool name.
Yeah, it is a cool name. So the works of Sextus Empiricus, 200 CE, are the main surviving accounts of ancient Pyrrhonism. So long before Sextus's time, the Academy had abandoned skepticism. The Pyrrhonian Academy had abandoned skepticism and had been destroyed as a formal institution. Sextus compiled and further developed the Pyrrhonist skeptical arguments, most of which were directed against the Stoics, but included arguments against all the schools of the Hellenistic philosophies, including the academic skeptics. So I want you to look up the age of, let's see if it's on here, academic skeptics. I'm about to get there.
100 CE.
Yeah, it says, so academic skepticism, it says, Pyrrho's thinking subsequently influenced the Platonic Academy, arising first in the academic skepticism of the Middle Academy under Arcesilaus, and then the New Academy under Carneades. I can't pronounce that next name, a student of Carneades, interpreted his teacher's philosophy as suggesting an account of knowledge based on truth-likeness. The Roman politician and philosopher Cicero was also an adherent of the skepticism of the New Academy, the Pyrrhonistic New Academy, even though a return to a more dogmatic orientation of the school was already beginning to take place at that time. So we can read more about Sextus because his stuff is important. Sex. All right. So Sextus is the most systematic author of the works by Hellenistic skeptics which has survived, noted that there are at least 10 modes of skepticism. These modes may be broken down into 3 categories. One may be skeptical of the subject perceiver, of the objective world, and the relation between the perceiver and the world. Makes sense. His arguments are as follows. Subjectively, both the powers of the senses and of reasoning may vary among different people. And now these are his terminologies, okay? And since knowledge is a product of one or the other, and since neither are reliable, knowledge would seem to be in trouble. For instance, a colorblind person sees the world quite differently from everyone else. Moreover, one cannot even give preference on the basis of the power of reason. An example, by treating the rational animal as a carrier of greater knowledge than the irrational animal, since the irrational animal is still adept at navigating their environment, which suggests the ability to know about some aspects of the environment. So this is Sextus's way of talking about humans. He was just saying animal. If you read his works, which I have a little bit, this is like very paraphrased translations of what he says, and it's difficult to understand. It's not easy to comprehend some of his writings because he was a very brilliant guy. So his position, one of his second position was the personality of the individual might also influence what they observe. Since it is argued preferences are based on sense impressions, differences in preferences can be attributed to differences in the ways people are affected by the object. So that is Empiricus 56 in his book, I guess. Man, he's got a few more. Let's see. I don't even know if we should cover the 10 tropes of Anicedemus, because it's a really weird skeptical argument. I think I'm gonna skip that. We can read more about Sextus's. Let's see. We can read about he had a third and a fourth. Yeah, let's read it. Hell with it. His third presupposition is the perceptions of each individual sense seemingly have nothing in common with the other senses. In example, the color red has little to do with the feeling of touching a red object. This is manifest when our senses, quote unquote, as he says, disagree with each other. He says, for example, a mirage presents certain visible features, but is not responsive to any other kind of sense. In that case, our other senses defeat the impressions of sight. So he is using a lot of terminology here that is specifically his. So let's say one can have reasons for doubt that are based on the relationship between objective facts and subjective experience, conceptual reality and phenomenal reality. The positions, distances, and places of objects would seem to be affected by how they're perceived by the person. For instance, what is this? The portico may appear tapered when viewed from one end, but symmetrical when viewed at the other. Oh, I see what he's talking about. And these features are different because they are different features. Because they are different features, to believe the object has both properties at the same time is to believe that it has two contradictory properties. Since this is absurd, one must suspend judgment about what properties it possesses due to the contradictory experiences. So these are all from his writings. This is all just Sextus's following of the school of Pyrrhonism and giving his insights on why he thinks we can't have knowledge in either all instances or certain instances. I don't I don't think he was a radical skeptic. I don't think he questioned everything to the point of epistemic nihilism, but it doesn't seem to indicate that as far as I'm reading. And I'm using a couple of different sources. So what's up?
Yeah, to me it seems like maybe he had like a time machine and he talked to Garrett too much.
Yeah, so if you notice, we went from reading things that made kind of sense, and then we started quoting Sextus, and we were like, oh, using different terminology here. So he's very important in Pyrrhonistic skepticism, so I thought or Pyrrhonian skepticism, excuse me. I keep on getting that wrong. It's not Pyrrhonistic, it's Pyrrhonian.
Yeah, and I think the fundamental flaw in that thought process is to say that because I can only see something from this one certain angle, that the other angles aren't valid as well. When there's nothing that should indicate that says the appearance of this ship at this angle differentiates it from the appearance of this ship at another angle, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's strange.
It is. Yes, it is. Let's see. Perry, did you want to respond to Scott? Or do you have any thoughts?
How's your chest going, Scott?
Good, man. I'm back above 1,200 right now. So it's a banner day for Scott today on chess.
Nice. So I mean, I don't think that. I mean, it's hard to compare with someone during that time compared to now, or the radical skeptics of 100 or 200 years ago.
But you have to, right?
Well, yeah, I have to. Being a 21st century man, I have nothing else really to compare it to. But he was. I mean, I'm assuming. Obviously, I can take a wild guess and say that this is where we get the word empirical from, right? Perhaps, or is this just a coincidence that his name was?
I'm not sure
because he's talking.
No, I think it's spelled differently too.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
I don't believe he's associated with the school of empiricism.
Sure.
I just think it. Yeah.
And okay, and that's kind of why I framed it that way, because I wasn't sure. But he mentioned sense perception and sense impressions and how we are affected by senses. Yeah. So he's relying on his senses in a way, right? Yeah. So to be a radical skeptic, in my interpretation of it, I don't even believe my senses.
Exactly.
So I don't think that he was as radical as some people that we could probably name.
Dude, yeah, radical skepticism to me is just, it seems like a bridge too far. I mean,
It doesn't make any sense. Yeah.
There's a way to fucking square that.
Remember, radical skepticism is questioning one's skepticism too.
Right.
So it's just paradoxical as hell.
Yeah,
Right.
it's trying to circle the square.
And remember, one of what the hell is they called? One of the criticisms, one of the criticisms was that it was the one that I just mentioned, and also that it was so far removed from practicality and pragmatism that it was pointless to question, the two hands in front of your face kind of thing.
Right.
I'm not gonna read the 10 tropes of Anicodemus because they're hard to understand in the way that they're presented. So I will read the 5 tropes of Agrippa, and tropes, if for the audience, tropes are just figurative and metaphorical language, which has been used in like various technical senses. So it's just like just a pattern. It's a complex idea of patterns. Here, we'll read the 5 tropes of Agrippa. 1 is dissent, the uncertainty demonstrated by the differences of opinions among philosophers and people in general. Number 2, progress ad infinitum. All proof rests on matters themselves in need of proof, and so on to infinity. So that's the infinite regress argument. 3, relation. All things are changed as their relations become changed, or as we look upon them from different points of view. You can, I guess, by relations, he's meaning properties and their relations between them. So 4 would be assumption. The truth asserted is based on an unsupported assumption. I don't know what he means by there. And then 5, circularity, which is coherence. The truth asserted involves a circularity of proofs. According to Victor Brokard, the quote unquote the 5 tropes can be regarded as one of the most radical and interesting formulations of philosophical skepticism that has ever been given. In a sense, they are still irresistible to argue over today. End quote.
So even today, it's considered pretty radical?
I guess so. I need to look more into the 5 tropes. The 10 tropes to me don't have, and these are just, Empiricists developed these sets of arguments to demonstrate that claims about reality cannot be adequately justified. Some Pyrrhonists were radical, some Pyrrhonists were weak, the weak form of skepticism. So I would implore the people in the audience to go read more about the 5 tropes of Agrippa, and maybe perhaps the 10 tropes of Anicodemus, because they're difficult to describe over just call in. So
I do have a question. Do you think if those people had all the access to modern science and technology now that they would say the same thing?
I ask that question all the time, Scott. Do you think Plato would still have his realm of ideas if he had the knowledge
if you
that
took
we have today?
If you took an iPhone back to, oh, you mean like Aristotle as a modern person, or bringing Aristotle from the past to now, or bringing technology back to Aristotle?
Either, I guess.
No. Let's put it in the framework of like having all the information that everybody, like even the most inept person now has in front of them through the internet, and you gave that to Aristotle, and he just had fucking this trove of knowledge, this trove of information. I don't think we would have even remotely the same fucking conclusions.
Well, what about Aristotelian logic? Do you think that he still would have came to this, like Mons Ponens and stuff? Don't you think that some of that stuff would still?
Yes.
Someone would have eventually come to that, bro.
You know what I mean? Some would, for sure, absolutely. Yeah.
Someone would have eventually come to that. Even if Aristotle didn't learn from Plato and Socrates.
But you're probably talking more about the skepticism, Scott, portion of it.
Yeah. The skepticism side, like some of it, I don't think it would have ever passed muster. But the basic groundwork. The basic groundwork of thought, I don't think you need to have all the information we have now to understand the basic groundwork, the foundations. of how to think. But once you have the information we have now, if you don't have that basic groundwork, you're fucking Kanye West, right? Like you're a fucking bumbling fool in a sea of fucking people, just like, you know. I just don't see around.
Well, that's more so, I think, speaking to the herd and talking in a way that people know that people will like to hear, and they get excited when they hear that kind of conspiratorial talk and whatnot. When it comes to what you were saying about being in the presence of all of this knowledge, I mean, you say the word like there's a basic groundwork of thought. Don't you have to have certain knowledge, though, in order to be skeptical of something that you hear? No.
No. So I think there's a difference. Like when like you go back this far and we're talking about truth, I think there's a differentiation between reality, right? And so now we live in a world where we have like a better foundation of reality than we do truth. Right, because truth is something that's constantly changing and shifting depending on like social mores and all this kind of stuff. And this is the way people lived for hundreds of thousands of years. This is the only method they had to dictate, okay, how do we know if this is right? Is this logical? Okay, but now we know we have scientific evidence, right? And we can see things like quantum mechanics that are illogical, but they are still correct.
That's what I was going to bring up.
They're still real. It is still a representation of reality. It's huge difference.
I don't know if I would say illogical. They are to us right now. You know what I mean? They bend the laws of logic so far right now that we can't understand, but I would just say that's our ignorance.
Yes, absolutely. And like in 2,000 years, they will say the same thing about us.
Yeah.
Exactly. 100%.
If we're still around, they're going to look at us like we look at Plato and Socrates and Aristotle, you know?
Well, let me ask the question again then, Scott. And I'm glad that I now know what you mean differentially by truth and reality. If Aristotle was presented with this idea of quantum mechanics and all of the verification that one would need, right? Do you think that would have had an impact on Aristotelian logic? Because that doesn't match up with any of his little syllogisms that he's created. I mean, it goes against it completely.
Yeah, I do think it would, because he would have come up with different ideas based on the information that he had, right?
Mm-hmm.
So anytime anybody has any sort of information, the only thing they can do is come to a conclusion based on the information they have. And if you have more information, you're going to make a different conclusion all the time, right?
Yeah.
Like I don't see how that's not possible.
Yeah.
So, like, but just by the function of understanding things, I think it would be different, right?
So it's open for reform.
Yeah, that's the beautiful thing about philosophy. Philosophy is like, hey, like this is an open book. Let's write what we fucking understand.
Yeah, no doubt. That was a good little conversation there, gentlemen.
Indeed.
I like that a lot. So we're on academic skepticism, right? We're about to get to Augustine. So academic skepticism refers to the skeptical period of ancient Platonism, dating from around 266 BCE, when Arcesilaus became scholarch of the Platonic Academy around 90 BCE. When Antiochus of Ascalon rejected skepticism. These all sound like superhero names. Although individual philosophers such as Favorinus and his teacher Plutarch continued to defend skepticism after this date. So after 90 BC, Plutarch was still defending skepticism. Unlike the existing school of skepticism, the Pyrrhonists, the academics maintain that knowledge of things. The Pyrrhonist maintains that knowledge of things is impossible. Epistemic nihilism, in a way. Radical skepticism. In some ways, ideas or notions are never true. Nevertheless, there are degrees of plausibility and hence degrees of belief which allow one to act. This is what the academics thought. This is what all of these people that we've just named thought. The school was characterized by its attacks on the Stoics, particularly their dogma that convincing impressions led to true knowledge. Impressions just means experience. The most important academics were the guy I pronounced earlier, Arcesilaus, Carneades, and Philo of Larissa. The most extensive ancient source of information about academic skepticism is in Academica, written by academic skeptical philosopher Cicero. So Cicero's a really cool guy. If anybody wants to go read up on him, I would suggest to do it. Xenophanes and Democritus were also in that area of academic skepticism, arguing, the Stoics and the Pyrrhonists arguing with each other. Let's see. Oh, okay. So I was wrong. The way they worded this sentence was weird. It says, unlike the existing school of skepticism, the Pyrrhonists, academic skeptics maintain that knowledge of things is impossible. Okay. A catalepsy is what they called that. Ideas or notions are never true. Nevertheless, there are degrees of plausibility and hence degrees of belief which allow one to act. So they were, the academics were arguing against the Stoics. Okay. There we go. Yeah. There we go. Sorry about that, guys. I got tongue-tied there. Yeah. I got wrong basically for a minute. So go ahead. Anybody want to comment on that? I didn't know if Perry, you had something to say about academic skepticism.
I think that does make sense. Like if you listen to like right wingers, they'll be like fucking stoicism, and they hate academics. Like through and through.
I don't. There are Stoics in left wing and right wing, but overall, I very much doubt that they're Stoics.
Yeah, I just making a joke.
I know you were, bro. I know. It was.
I can see. And I think
that was interesting.
Sorry, that's my meditation app. It just did its dinging thing. Sorry. It says, "Hey, it's time to meditate."
Oh. I feel like I don't know. I feel like I wouldn't want to have a ringtone if I wanted to meditate. Like, and now I'm alert and stuff instead of. Well, I guess you should be alert when you meditate. Anyways. We had talked about this, Thomas, about the Stoics, and there's several things where you can definitely apply skepticism. So when Marcus Aurelius says one should only fear not obtaining his moral duty, well, what is your moral duty? Is that an objective thing, or is your moral duty just specific to you and only you? Mm-hmm. So there's a lot of this...
Seems like virtue epistemology to me.
There's this fancy wording that doesn't really dig into what it actually means to be morally dutiful. And
that's the question of virtue is moral duties.
Yeah, well, Perry, look into the word duty. Duty means something that's imposed on you by others, right? So if you have a duty to do, if you have a duty to do something, it's something that's imposed on you by others. Right, period. There's no fucking way around it.
I would say it's probably a social construct. Duty is, right?
Exactly.
So how do you get away from relativism in that case?
You don't.
You don't, bro.
So there's a lot of room for skepticism.
Welcome to fucking
everything. Yeah, that's why skepticism exists.
Yeah.
Exactly, buddy. You hit the nail on the head, Barry.
When people rail against like moral relativism, it's like, are you 3 years old? What do you understand the world that's going on around you?
I always got worried when I saw that. When I would see like people say like, "Oh, I know, I've solved the issue to moral relativism" or something like that. It's like, I just feel as though I'm completely missing something, as though I'm just completely aloof and just isolated amongst everyone else, because I see that this issue is very prominent, but people are under the illusion that there's some sort of ultimate. I mean, you guys know
people are also under the illusion of Allah, God, Vishnu, fucking Krishna, fucking all this goddamn shit. You know, like people are under a tremendous amount of illusion.
Scientology.
You can't even get away from relativism within religion. But yeah, go ahead.
No, you're good. Relativism is in everything.
Yeah.
There is a relativistic argument in all philosophical doctrines. But yeah, virtue epistemology and the idea of virtue and moral duty and things like that is all very vague and all very normative. So let's talk about Augustine on his ideas of skepticism. Everybody know Augustine? I guess it's Saint Augustine, yeah. Well, I don't know.
People say Saint Augustine.
This is 386 CE, so I guess that is
13th century. Oh yeah, you're right. There is
this dude's just name is Augustine, so it's not Saint Augustine.
He's like Augustine of Hippo. That's right.
That's right.
Yeah.
So he published a book called Contra Academicos, which is against the academic skeptics, which argued against claims made by the academic skeptics, where they said you can't know shit, on the following grounds. He had this what's called objection from error. So through his logic, Augustine argues that philosophical skepticism, the overarching idea, does not lead to happiness. And that's what he was, eudaimonia, obviously, like the academic skeptics claim. His arguments are summarized as, here's one. It has 4 parts. 1, a wise man lives according to reason and thus is able to be happy. 2, one who is searching for knowledge but never finds it is in error. 3, imperfection objection. People in error are not happy because being in error is an imperfection, and people cannot be happy with an imperfection. Number 4, conclusion. One who is still seeking knowledge cannot be happy.
Yeah, that is so completely wrong. I don't even know where to start.
Okay, so this is Saint Augustine, right?
Oh, it is.
No,
okay.
Yeah.
No. Oh, it is?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it is. Saint Augustine.
No, Augustine in 400 CE.
And then there's a 13th century one, right?
Yeah, 13th
So they're both
century.
saints. I don't guess they could be saints in 380. Well, I guess they could. 386 CE, right? That's Common Era. That's not BCE.
That's what you're talking about right now.
Yeah, I'm talking about 386 CE.
Yeah, I don't think they started making saints until way later. But
I don't know. They had Orthodox church fathers and shit, but I don't know if they had saints.
It's what it says on Wikipedia, also known as Saint Augustine.
Okay, that's how it's spelled. So I'm gonna go with that. We'll say Saint Augustine.
Yeah,
How's that sound?
we'll keep it tentative for now.
Yeah.
They can't do it retroactively in the church, so they'll just say oh, he's a saint.
Oh,
now.
back then, yeah, this guy was a saint back then, even though they didn't have the term for it.
The Catholic Church is all about that shit.
He was so Augustine was all about suspension of disbelief in order to avoid error, because he thought error was someone who searched for knowledge that didn't find it. They were in error.
But
sorry.
His whole point was, so you have to believe in God, right? I mean, if this is the same Saint Augustine I'm thinking about, he was very much like a proselytizer, right?
I don't think this is the same person, because
I don't know,
this is definitely a Greek person.
Yeah.
So this is Augustine of Hippo, right?
Yeah. Are you on?
He's a hippopotamus.
Are you on? Are you on Stanford or are you on?
I am on Stanford and Wikipedia. I'm reading between them.
Yeah, just go ahead and we'll, I guess, try and sort it out after.
He has another argument, but it involves logical forms and atomic variables like P and A and B and shit like that. So I'm not going to tongue-tie people on listening to that. So now we're going to get to skepticism's revival in the 16th century. Okay. Renaissance skepticism. Michael de Montaigne. How do you say this name? Michael de Montaigne. Montaigne.
Oh wait, no, never mind.
I'm gonna spell it again. M-O-T-A. Oh no, excuse me. Montaigne. How do you say that?
Montaigne.
Montaigne.
Montaigne, probably.
Okay.
Michel
Michel
de
de-
Montaigne.
Yeah.
Okay, we'll just say Montaigne. How does that sound?
When I think just say Montaigne. Just say Montaigne. I think that's probably the right way to say it. Montaigne.
Yeah.
Okay, all right. So the most notable figure of skepticism, the skepticism revival in the 1500s is Montaigne. He wrote about his studies of academic skepticism and Pyrrhonism through his essays. His most notable writings on skepticism occurred in an essay written mostly in 1575 to 1576, which is Apologie de Raymond Sebond, when he was reading Sextus Empiricus and trying to translate Raymond Sebond's writing, including his proof of Christianity's natural existence. The reception of Montaigne's translations included some criticisms of Sebond's proof. Montaigne responded to some of them in Apologia, another essay, including a defense for Sebond's logic that is skeptical in nature and similar to Pyrrhonism. His refutation as follows. There's 4 parts. 1, critics claiming Sebond's arguments are weak show how egoistic humans believe that their logic is superior to others. 2, many animals, this is where they use animals again. Many animals can be observed to be superior to humans in certain respects. Oh, okay, I see. To argue this point, Montaigne even writes about dogs who are logical and creates their own syllogisms to understand the world around them. This was an example used in Sextus Empiricus writings. Number 3, since animals also have rationality, the over-glorification of man's mental capacities is a trap, man's folly. One man's reason cannot be assuredly better than another's as a result. So, epistemological relativism, right? Number 4, ignorance is even recommended by religion so that an individual can reach faith through obediently following divine instructions to learn, not by one's logic. So he had a few different ideas. Apparently he thought dogs were logical. Is that what I just read?
You read that animals can rationalize, which I find very interesting because I guess it depends how you define the verb rationalize.
Montaigne did not like man's mental capacity. He thought man's mental capabilities were a trap. Man's folly is what he said.
Yeah.
I mean, he could make an argument for that depending on what he said.
Yeah, I mean, he's fucking right? Yeah. So, like, man has, like, rationalized the fact that, hey, we need to kill all Jews to make ourselves pure, right? Yeah. So, like, I mean, there's a certain amount of fucking realization there. I don't know if it's 100% right, but...
He took it a bit far, it seems. I mean, what was he saying... What was he saying with the dogs being superior?
No, he didn't say dogs were superior.
No, he thought he just said we overglorified man's mental capabilities and it was man's folly. He said, Montague even writes about dogs who are logical and they create their own syllogisms to understand the world around them. Yeah. This was an example used in Sextus Empiricus's writing.
So it was Sextus Empiricus that thought that dogs...
I'm assuming that's by what it says, yes.
Aristotelians.
Well, no, I wouldn't say that. I wouldn't say it was Sextus's opinion. I would say he read this from Sextus. He got this opinion, and he said he attributed it to Sextus.
Yeah,
right?
You're right. These were his 4 theses.
but that is a differentiation, Perry, right? So it's like somebody can like mention like, oh, okay, I got this idea from this person, but that's still their idea, right? They probably took some information from that person and came up with their own synthesis of what they're.
Any of it's going to be based on hermeneutics and interpretation, right?
Yeah.
I mean, anything, like if any philosopher reads another philosopher's work, they're not thinking those philosophers' thoughts, right?
This is why I have such an issue with a priori versus a posteriori. Because how can
Yeah, that does burn you up inside, doesn't it?
Like, you can't. There's no way without even... You can't just automatically spawn an idea that you haven't already sensed and heard and read and looked at beforehand.
That's why we don't look at it that way anymore.
Well,
we don't look at it in... I'm sorry, Scott.
No, you're totally right, Thomas. You were going exactly where I was going. We don't look at it that way anymore.
No, it's all science, mostly anyway. I mean, we still have philosophy, of course, but I mean, epistemologists and all this kind of stuff. But there are very few idealists. There are very few these types of rationalists. Rationalist and empiricism and a priori and a posteriori is kind of blended now in the way that we do science and everything.
It's an idea of synthesis, Perry. So can you imagine? Do you know much about music?
I consider myself novice in most areas of knowledge, but
so you could have like two different waves, two sine waves that are two different frequencies.
Oh, and they cancel each other out.
Each of themselves, no, not cancel each other out, but you add them together and they create harmonics, right?
Gotcha.
So that something else comes out of it. That's why like a synthesizer is called a synthesizer. That's literally what it's doing by the terminology. It's synthesizing a sound, right? It's not the sound itself. It's creating an approximation or creating like a representation of that sound, right?
So you're saying it's kind of like a combination of frequencies in order to get the one sound that you're interpreting?
Yes. So every thought you have that came from somebody else goes to the thoughts that you have yourself, and then this other thing fucking pops up, right? That's the difference.
Yeah, and that's why thinking about the Aristotle being, aware of quantum mechanics is so interesting to think about, because such a great thinker, such a mighty thinker like that, who came up with Aristotelian logic that we still use today. Just imagine the type of things that just an insight that he could have, or at least started a path on that someone 200 years later would have eventually figured out or whatever.
Yep.
But yeah.
It's too bad we don't know the name of the guy who invented the wheel, right?
It was Jim.
It was probably a caveman.
It was Jim.
Just Jim was his name,
bro.
Oh, definitely, Jim the caveman. So tell me how to pronounce this name. We're going to move on to the next guy, Marin Mersenne. I think that's pretty good. Marin Mersenne, 1588 to 1648. So back then, that was a long time. Damn, it was like 60 years old.
That's Mercier.
Oh, Mercier, even with two N's?
Oh, I'm looking at, how do you spell it?
His last name, the first name is Marin, the last name is Mersenne.
Yeah, that sounds about right, how you said it.
Marin Mersenne? Yeah, sure. So Mersenne was an author, mathematician, scientist, and philosopher. He wrote in defense of science and Christianity against atheists and Pyrrhonists before retiring to encourage development of science and the new philosophy, what he called, which includes philosophers like Gassendi, Descartes, Galileo, and Thomas Hobbes. A major work of his in relation to skepticism is La Vérité des Sciences, in which he argues that although we may not be able to know the true nature of things, we can still formulate certain laws and rules for sense perception through science. So this is all kind of getting into the philosophy of science. A lot of what we're going to talk about in terms of skepticism past a certain point, like past the 17th century, is going to be involved with science, because skepticism and science are interlinked inexorably.
Yeah.
So
exactly.
Mersenne, additionally, he points out that we do not doubt everything because, one, humans do not agree about some... That we do not... Okay, yeah. One, humans do agree about some things. For example, an ant is smaller than an elephant. Two, there are natural laws governing our sense perceptions, such as optics, which also allows us to eliminate inaccuracies. 3, man has created tools such as rulers and scales to measure things and eliminate doubts, such as bent oars, pigeon necks, and round towers.
Yes. Yep.
Oh, this dude. Old man time over here.
I know he's like those pigeon towers, man. God damn it. He's worked
Oh
up
my
about
God.
it.
Bent oars was what he had to. Well, in the 1600s, guys, rulers and scales were big deals. Rulers and scales were like our laser, levels.
Well, like bent oars, like people would be like shaving off, and bending your oar on purpose to like make some money out of you somehow. I don't know.
I don't know. These people, because when you go so far back and you read these guys' thoughts, that's just like it seems so ridiculous because they didn't know about physics and shit like that. You know what I mean? Not until so.
Yeah,
he also
knew about pulley and levers.
Exactly, simple machines. So Mersenne says a Pyrrhonist might refute these points by saying that senses deceive, and thus knowledge turns into infinite regress or circularity. Thus, Mersenne argues that this cannot be the case, since commonly agreed upon rules of thumb can be hypothesized and tested over time to ensure that they continue to hold. So he seemed like he seemed like a scientific kind of guy, but I think he was a phenomenal conservativist, which is basically things things as they appear are. Damn it, I can't even say that sentence. Things are the way that they appear to be. We have a one-to-one with reality. It seems as though Mersenne thought that we had a one-to-one with reality. We could trust.
Naive realism.
Do you
Yeah, a
think
bit
so?
of naive realism, yes.
Yeah, to me it sounds like less he thought the idea that there is a one-to-one relation to reality as more along the lines of like our senses represent reality in a very good way, right? But before,
Yeah.
Right? So
that's constructive empiricism in the philosophy of science.
Yeah, well, because like evolution sort of like sealed the deal on that whole argument, right? I mean, that was. I don't think that argument's been had since, but I don't know. It seems like maybe he was like sort of getting to that point already, in what you just read.
Mm-hmm. So he's. I'm just making sure I understand his points here because he's saying a Pyrrhonist might refute these. The points that I read a minute ago, humans do agree about some things. For example, an ant is smaller than an elephant. The second thing, there are natural laws governing our sense perceptions, such as optics, which allow us to eliminate inaccuracies. So he's arguing for a more realist approach, not naive realism where, oh, I see reality exactly as it is kind of thing. Our scientific theories absolutely describe what's happening in reality one-to-one. I think he was probably a little bit closer to anti-real, but still in the realist side is what Mersenne is seeming like this. So he says, furthermore, if everything can be doubted, the doubt can also be doubted, so on and so forth ad infinitum.
Here we go.
Thus, thus, according to Mersenne, something has to be true.
Well, why are those two things
I don't know.
overlapping magisteria? Why can't the truth be infinite regress?
I have no problem with that, personally.
Well, did any of these guys have axioms? Do you know? Did they have like fundamental axioms?
Oh yeah, all of them probably did. I mean, in terms of system,
that's what I would like to know. Because if we're talking about these things, I feel like there's. Maybe he has like some fundamental axiom that this makes more sense to him than it does to us. So I think like you, me, and Perry all most likely have pretty similar fundamental axioms, right? But maybe somebody 500 years ago has drastically different.
Remember though, axioms are just a starting point in a system. So you have a system, and you either arbitrarily or specifically define an axiom, and that's how you get your theorems. So I mean, axioms can be arbitrary. I mean, I don't know how they couldn't be arbitrary, if that makes
Oh
sense.
no, yeah. They're fundamentally arbitrary. We just it's something
But
that we just.
But we
accept,
can all
right?
agree. We can all agree close
Yeah.
enough to where we can interact
Yes.
with each other in philosophical discourse, right?
Yeah.
That would be epistemologically objective versus
Yeah.
just objective. It'd be
Yeah.
epistemologically.
Because I would say if we went back 2,000 years, those guys' axioms were different than if we went back 300 years, right? They would have
Yes.
different axioms.
Well, I mean,
based on-
Aristotle was starting off with the idea that the four, in his physics, the four elements or natural elements or whatever was, what was it, Perry? Fire, earth, water, and wind, or fire, earth,
Wind.
water, and air. Yeah.
He also.
So I mean,
thought
that was his axioms into physics back then.
Yeah, another physics one was that when an apple dropped and fell to the ground, he thought it was because the apple had a love or affection for the earth.
Yeah.
So that was an axiom that clearly
Yeah.
99% of people nowadays would not agree with.
Yeah, exactly. So there are these things that, like, these guys were like, if we go back far enough, they were basing their fundamental argumentation around like some sort of strange thing that we don't even understand.
Pythagoras, just take Pythagoras. Like, he was a religious mystic. Like, he said a bunch of crazy shit. He sacrificed an ox when he discovered a squared plus b squared equals c squred.
Yeah.
So
What a
some crazy
kind
shit
gesture.
shit going on. Hopefully,
That
hopefully
ox
they ate the
deserved
ox.
it. Well, did they barbecue it? Like, if he
Yeah, I hope so. I hope they made some use out of
ate
him.
it. Like, okay, yeah, that's fine.
Yeah, I'd be cool with that. I'd be part of that religion all day. Ox, that sounds good.
But I don't know. I guess that's like my thing. Like, this is something that I always run up to personally. Like when I'm thinking about these kind of things, is without the amount of knowledge that we have now, how could you make a claim, right? And even now, like, that's why I'll say I won't make a claim, because I know in 2,000 years, people are going to be looking back, like, how the fuck could Scott make a claim about anything? He didn't fucking know shit.
Yeah. Yeah, that's why we don't make absolute claims, Scott.
Yep.
And someone's going to come in and say, oh, well, me just saying that is an absolute claim, saying that I won't make absolute claims.
It's
So,
the skepticism. It's meta everything. Skeptical about being skeptical.
I was really hoping Vlad was going to pop in right now, but like, well, let me tell you about Jesus.
Well, we're not taking callers.
I'll
We're
tell you
not
about
taking
my
callers right now.
axioms.
But I'm here and it's absolute.
Yeah, Josh, I know
There
you're
it
here,
is.
buddy. Josh is here with us.
Josh is here. Like, yeah, Josh, let me tell
Absolute! It's absolute, everyone!
We will get to those things, I promise. We will have a free for all time and get into beautiful tangents. But right now we're getting back on topic for just a little bit longer, all right? How long we've been doing this? I don't want to kill everybody. This is torture time, but we've been on for about an hour. We're going to keep going.
1 hour and 9 minutes.
All right, we're keeping going.
We're good. We're
All
in
right.
the 16th century, so we're moving.
Yeah, we're moving along. Now let's go to skepticism in the 17th century.
Okay.
Thomas Hobbes, 1588 to 1679. God damn, he lived to be
Yep.
90?
Yep.
Yeah, damn, that's pretty good for that age. Or he was in horrible pain for like 20 years.
No, clean living, because people did live that long ago. I can go in the whole tangent. I'm not going to do it though.
I remember in the Wild West, in America, the average age was like 35 or 30, somewhere between 30 and 35. So that was just 100-something years ago. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but also that average age was based on the fact that most people before they were 5 years old, like a drastic amount of people died like before they were 5.
So there's outliers.
Insanity.
Yeah. So back to Thomas Hobbes. Let's see. He during his long stay in Paris, Thomas Hobbes was actively involved in the circle of major skeptics. So this is still during the Renaissance. Major skeptics like Gassendi, Gassendi and Mersenne, who focused on the study of skepticism in epistemology. Unlike his fellow skeptic friends, Hobbes never treated skepticism as a main topic for discussion in his works. Nonetheless, Hobbes was still labeled as a religious skeptic by his contemporaries for raising doubts about Mosaic authorship of the say that for me?
Pentecostal? Is that what you're trying to say?
No, Josh, the Pentateuch? Is that something you know about? I don't know what that word is.
Sorry, it's the
Oh, it's the
Pentateuch.
Torah. Oh, the Torah. Okay. Sorry.
The Pentateuch is different than the Torah. The Pentateuch is the first 5 books of the Bible, and the Torah is some of the books after the Old Testament.
Gotcha. Okay, thank you, sir. All right. So Hobbes was still labeled as a religious skeptic by his contemporaries for raising doubts about that word that Josh just said and described, and his political and psychological explanation of the religions. Although Hobbes himself did not go further to challenge other religious principles, his suspicion for the Mosaic authorship did significant damage to the religious traditions and paved the way for later religious skeptics like Spinoza and Peyre. Anybody know how to say that?
Sounds like
Spinoza and Pereira.
It sounds like you just spelled my name, but
Pereira. I don't know. Anyway, Pereira is what I'm going to say because Pereira. There's an R-E at the end. That's the difficult part for me.
Oh, okay.
Isaac La Pereira. So we're just going to say Pereira. Hobbes' answer to skepticism and epistemology was innovatively political. He believed that moral knowledge and religious knowledge were in their nature relative, and there was no absolute standard of truth governing them. As a result, it was out of political reasons that certain truth standards about religions and ethics were devised by him and established in order to form a functioning government and stable society.
Yep.
Interesting, Hobbes. Interesting on your skepticism there. Spinoza is next, and of course, we all know the idea of Spinoza's God. I'm going to read that idea real quick.
Well, to me, it seems like this point it's just like more delving deeper into the realization that things are relative, right?
Yes, that was what Hobbes was getting to. Hobbes was a skeptic, for sure.
It seems like the progression is definitely asymmetrical, Scott. That it's going in a certain direction, and as time goes on, certain things get thrown away. So
yes, isn't it amazing? Like once you realize that,
once you come to that realization,
going, dude, that's why I'm so excited, dude. Like things are only gonna get better. It's gonna be fucking amazing.
Now, Spinoza, this guy lived half the life of what Hobbes did. I'm pretty sure he was like 45 when he died.
Yes, Spinoza was young. He was a hard liver though too, right? Like he lived life. As where Hobbes was like a Puritan, right?
Seems as though that is what the case is. So Baruch Spinoza was among the first European philosophers who were religious skeptics. He was quite familiar with the philosophy of Descartes and unprecedentedly extended the application. Wait a minute, is Descartes? Did we skip Descartes? Why is he not on here? Interesting.
I think, was Spinoza after Descartes? He must have been, I guess, if Spinoza was referring.
He must have been. I mean, we all know a shitload about Descartes and his skeptical scenarios and everything. We understand that he was a rational skeptic, and we don't have to go back over that. He's one of the most famous philosophers of all time. But so he was quite familiar with the philosophy of Descartes and unprecedentedly extended the application of the Cartesian skeptical method to the religious context by analyzing religious text with that skepticism. With the skepticism of Descartes. Spinoza sought to dispute the knowledge claims of the Judeo-Christian Islamic religious system by examining its two foundations, the scripture and the miracles. He claimed that all Cartesian knowledge, or the rational knowledge, should be accessible to the entire population. Therefore, the scriptures, aside from those by Jesus, should not be considered the secret knowledge attained from God, but just the imagination of the prophets. The scriptures, as a result of this claim, could not serve as a base for knowledge and were reduced to simple ancient historical texts. This is Spinoza's idea, okay? Moreover, Spinoza also rejected the possibility for miracles by simply asserting that people only considered them miraculous due to their lack of understanding of the nature by which it existed. So by rejecting the validity of the scriptures and miracles, Spinoza demolished the foundations for religious knowledge claims and established his understanding of the Cartesian skeptical knowledge system as the sole authority of knowledge claims. Despite being deeply skeptical of the religion, Spinoza was in fact exceedingly anti-skeptical towards reason and rationality. He steadfastly confirmed the legitimacy of reason by associating it with the acknowledgement of God, and thereby skepticism with the rational approach to knowledge was not due to the problems with the rational knowledge, but from the fundamental lack of understanding God. So I'm going to read that one more time. Despite being deeply skeptical of the religions, Spinoza was in fact exceedingly anti-skeptical towards reason and rationality. So he loved reason and rationality. He's a rationalist. So he steadfastly confirmed the legitimacy of reason by associating it with the acknowledgement of God's existence, and thereby skepticism with the rational approach of knowledge was not due to problems with the rational knowledge itself, but acknowledgement of God, and but from the fundamental lack of understanding of God. So Spinoza's religious skepticism and anti-skepticism of reason thus helped him transform epistemology by separating the theological knowledge claims and the rational knowledge claims. Now what Spinoza considered as God is very different than what Josh considers. Very, very different. Spinoza, to him, God is the one infinite substance who possesses an infinite number of attributes, each expressing an eternal aspect of God's nature. He believed this due to the definition of God being equivalent to that of substance ontologically. So that, the clockwork God, the first cause God, Spinoza's God, as they used to call it, or they still do. But Einstein's God, same thing. Well, not exactly the same thing, but. I'm sorry, Scott. Go ahead.
I was going to say this is something I've always known as like the self-cause cause.
The first cause, the uncaused cause. Yeah, it's a foundationalist argument. It's attempting to say that there is a final piece in the chain that is unjustified. It doesn't have to be justified.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's the problem with all foundationalists. Is we have to give. Well, we don't have to, but it would behoove us to give a reason to that. Yep. Yes.
Exactly. But if you find yourself in a position where you have to do that, you have to limit it to the fewest possible things that you just have to accept, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's like my axioms are: I exist, the world around me exists, I affect the world around me. Period. That's it. Like once you accept that, I think everything can follow from there. You don't need any more. And I guess that's why I was going into or asking Perry about maxims earlier, right? Because it's that's the thing. That's the part that you just have to accept right off the bat. And
there has to be some axiomatic rules in the system, whatever system you're defining.
You have to presuppose at some point.
Yeah, at some point, but until Spinoza, was it ever laid down in some sort of foundational knowledge that we could carry over? It definitely wasn't with the Greek philosophers. They just fucking believed and they fucking held on to that shit regardless.
It was actually probably more so Descartes, because Spinoza did the same thing that Descartes did, where he tried to cure this type of skepticism using God. God was eventually the end result, the infallible, the perfect, the all-knowing, the truthful. And so all of the skepticism that Descartes created with his math, with his logic, was ultimately solved as a non-vacuous contrast to his fallibility, his imperfection, his non-knowing. He said, well, if there's an opposite pair, it's got to be God. He's infallible, he's all-knowing, and That's how I cure my skepticism. Boom, done.
But he's also making he's also making axiomatic claim that there has to be an opposite pair, right? So like,
yes,
I don't even make that claim. Like, all I have to say is that
that's exactly what I thought.
Like, why? Like, where is this coming from?
He called it a non-vacuous contrast. He said he was a math guy, right? So there's odd numbers, and if it's not an odd number, it's an even number. So those two things are non-vacuous contrasts. So he tried to apply that to himself and God. So I mean, it doesn't. There's no reasonable way to pair those things for whatever reason, just because.
Exactly.
There's no reason.
Well, that's the thing with like math, like odd and even. That is purely a construct. That's something we came up with.
Yeah, right. Yeah. So
math is our language that we invented to describe what's happening in physics.
Like, and he took that and is like, okay, well, there has to be this thing, right? No, there doesn't.
We don't have too much more to cover, so let's truck it out, and then we'll fucking get deep in some tangents and shit. I love hearing y'all talk. That's why I've just been quiet. But Pierre Bailly, 1647 to 1706. It's Bayle, so I'm just going to say Bayle. Pierre Bayle was a French philosopher in the late 17th century that was described by Richard Popkin to be the super skeptic who carried out the skeptic tradition to the extreme. So he was a radical skeptic. Bayle was born in a Calvinist family in Carla Bayle, so apparently he was named after a town. And during the early stages of his life, he converted into Catholicism before returning to Calvinism. This conversion between religions caused him to leave France for the more religiously tolerant Holland, where he stayed and worked for the rest of his life. Bayle believed that truth cannot be obtained through reason, and that all human endeavor to acquire absolute knowledge would be inevitably lead to failure. Well, I agree if you're talking about absolute knowledge. Bayle's main approach was highly skeptical and destructive. He sought to examine and analyze all existing theories in all fields of human knowledge in order to show the faults in their reasoning and thus the absurdity of the theories themselves. In his magnum opus, Historical and Critical Dictionary, Bayle painstakingly identified the logical flaws in several works throughout the history in order to emphasize the absolute futility of rationality. Bayle's complete nullification of reason led him to conclude that faith is the final and only way to truth. So Bayle's real intention behind his extremely destructive works remains controversial. I don't know why they're calling it destructive. Some described him to be a fideist. What is that? A fideist. It's an epistemological theory which maintains that faith is independent of reason. Okay. So
like fidelist, maybe like
no,
fidelity?
it's Fidist is how it's spelled.
It's fideism.
Fideism, gotcha.
From
Thank
the Latin
you.
word fide. Yep.
Say that again. Latin word what?
Fide meaning faith.
Fide. Yeah, like
gotcha. Faith.
Yep.
So fideist. That sounds nasty. Is that how I say that? Fideist or fideist?
I'd say fideist because it's fideism.
Okay.
But
okay.
I don't know.
So it's all good. Bayle's real intention behind his extremely, they say destructive works remains controversial. Some described him to be a fideist, while others speculated him to be a secret atheist. However, no matter what his original intention was, Bayle did cast significant influence on the upcoming Age of Enlightenment with his destruction of some of the most essential theological ideas and his justification of religious tolerance, atheism in his work. Of religious tolerance of atheism in his works. Okay. So he sounded like a radical skeptic who thought that the only way to truth was faith. And what you want to say something, Scott?
Oh no, I'm sorry. I thought I was just agreeing.
He sounds like Soren Kierkegaard.
Where he does, doesn't he?
Where he said, if you're Abraham and God tells you to kill your son, you're not going to try and reason with God and ask him why are you doing this? Why, and use reason. You're going to use faith. and you're going to do what he says because you have faith in what you believe to be the truth, which in this case is God.
Okay.
So that's how I interpret fideism.
Yeah, it's just separating reason and faith.
Right.
Is what it seems to be. I'll read fideism again. It's an epistemological theory which maintains that faith is independent of reason, or that reason and faith are hostile to each other, and faith is superior at arriving at particular truths. Okay. So
that's interesting, because saying independent of them versus hostile is...
Write that one down so you can get into Josh with it. But let me finish these. I got so we've got the Enlightenment now, Skepticism in the Age of the Enlightenment, David Hume and Immanuel Kant, and then I'll read this short paragraph on skepticism in the 20th century. So everybody knows Hume and Kant, obviously, but Hume was among the most influential proponents of philosophical skepticism during the Age of Enlightenment, and one of the most notable voices of the Scottish Enlightenment and British empiricism. So British empiricism is just, it's an epistemological theory that holds that knowledge or justification comes only or primarily from sensory experience. So he was a strict empiricist. He especially espoused skepticism regarding inductive reasoning, his problem of induction, and questioned what the foundation of morality was, creating the is-ought problem, Hume's guillotine. His approach to skepticism is considered even more radical than that of Descartes. Interesting. I didn't know you could get too much more radical than Descartes. Yeah. Obviously, Bailey or Bale, whatever his name was pretty radical. Obviously, Hume argued that any coherent idea must be either a mental copy of an impression, or a direct sensory perception, or copies of multiple sensory perceptions innovatively combined. Since certain human activities like religion, superstition, and certain parts of metaphysics are not premised on any actual sense impressions, their claims to knowledge are logically unjustified by David Hume's conjecture. Furthermore, Hume even demonstrates that science is merely a psychological phenomenon based on the association of ideas, often, specifically, an assumption of cause and effect relationships that is itself not grounded in any sensory perceptions. Thus, even scientific knowledge is logically unjustified, being not actually objective or provable, but rather mere conjecture flimsily based on our minds perceiving regular correlations between distinct events. Hume thus falls into extreme skepticism regarding the possibility of any certain knowledge, so he didn't know. So ultimately he offers that, at best, a science of human nature is the only solid foundation for the other sciences. So I guess he would argue that human nature is the only truth. That's interesting. But,
He had a book called The Treatise of Human Nature.
That's right, yeah.
I'm sure
That's
it's more elaborated in there.
Oh, I'm sure.
I did think that with Hume, that was more of just like a hedge, right? He was just saying, like, fundamentally, I don't fucking know, but...
I mean, in terms of the philosophy of science, if he's saying that scientific knowledge is logically unjustified, being not actually objective or provable, but rather mere conjecture flimsily based on our minds perceiving correlations between things, he was probably a more scientific anti-realist. He was probably in the middle of anti-realism, not towards the far end, but a little bit closer towards the center. Which is what I'm a constructive empiricist tentatively. So I think that what we see of what we experience and perceive is the phenomenal, and it gives us the math and the physics give us extremely important predictive power through our senses, but it doesn't mean that we have any ontological commitments to them. So that's what would be constructive empiricism, and I kind of lean towards that, but then again, I'm also a correspondence guy, so I kind of go both. A little bit of cognitive dissonance going on inside me. I kind of switch between both depending on the day. But I don't even know if I want to cover Kant, because his skepticism was based in all of his ideas of like categories and his ideas of metaphysical knowledge, excuse me. Let's skip Well, he is important. Let's just read it. Immanuel Kant tried to provide a ground for empirical science against David Hume's skeptical treatment of the notion of cause and effect.
Right.
Hume argued that for the notion of cause and effect, no analysis is possible, which is also acceptable to the empiricist program. So Kant's attempt to give a ground to knowledge in the empirical sciences at the same time cut off the possibility of knowledge, of any other knowledge, especially what Kant called metaphysical knowledge. So for Kant, empirical science was legitimate, but metaphysics and philosophy was mostly illegitimate. Yeah. Interesting. So the most important exception to this demarcation of the legitimate from the illegitimate was his version of ethics, the principles of which Kant argued can be known by pure reason without appeal to the principles required for empirical knowledge. So thus, with the respect to metaphysics and ontology and philosophy in general, ethics being the exception, Kant was a skeptic. This skepticism, as well as his explicit skepticism of G.E. Schultz, gave rise to a robust discussion of skepticism in German idealistic philosophy, especially by Hegel. So let's read about skepticism in the 20th century, and then, guys, I really appreciate you for listening to all this. It's awesome. We can go over later, maybe in one of the last shows, we'll cover the history of skepticism in non-Western philosophy, in Buddhism and Jainism and Taoism and a couple of the ancient Chinese philosophies. But let's just read this real quick. Skepticism in the 20th century and contemporary philosophy. G.E. Moore famously presented the here is one hand argument against skepticism in his 1925 paper, A Defense of Common Sense. Moore claimed that he could prove that the external world exists by simply presenting the following argument while holding up his hands. Quote, here is one hand, here is another hand. Therefore, there are at least two objects. Therefore, external world skepticism fails. End quote. That's phenomenal conservatism. He trusted his senses absolutely. His argument was developed for the purposes of vindicating common sense and refuting skepticism. Ludwig Wittgenstein later argued in his On Certainty that Moore's argument rested on the way that ordinary language is used rather than on anything about knowledge itself. Okay. So in contemporary philosophy, Richard Popkin was a particularly influential scholar on the topic of skepticism. His account of the history of skepticism was accepted as the standard for contemporary scholarship in the area for decades after its release in 1960. Barry Stroud also published a number of works on philosophical skepticism, most notably in his 1984 monograph, The Significance of Philosophical Skepticism. From the mid-1990s, Stroud, alongside Richard Fumerton, put forward influential anti-externalist arguments in favor of a position called meta-epistemological skepticism. Ooh, I like that. Other contemporary philosophers known for their work on skepticism include James Pryor, Keith DeRose, and Peter Klein. So there we go, guys. That is the history of philosophical skepticism.
Good work.
I appreciate all of you listening to me on that, because I had to study a decent amount today to remember all this stuff and try to explain it the best I can, so I really appreciate that. Guys, we're going to open the room to callers, and I have to piss like a madman, so I'm going to make Scott a moderator and make Perry a moderator. And you guys may discuss amongst yourself. Hopefully we get some callers here in just a second. I shall return. 1 second.
All right, let's see. Vlad, I know you got something. What are you up to, Josh?
Cleaning guns, hanging out, living the dream.
Another day in the office. Go ahead and call in, guys. This is where conversations tangent on to anything, so.
Or we'll end it right now.
You have 10 seconds.
10 seconds. Perry, I like the beard, man. I'm jealous.
Thank you.
I hope to have a beard in the next couple years.
Dude, so I made an egg today with a little bit of onion in it, and
yeah,
it just smells like the food just gets like caught in your beard. Listen, so I took a shower, right? Because I had to. I took a shower, and I'm scrubbing, and I still smell it an hour after when I'm getting. So I have to shave it every 2 or 3 weeks or whatever.
Yeah.
But
I gotcha. Well, it's not a real beard unless it has meat in it. So.
Yeah, exactly. Maybe I'll just do the stash, just shave it all and keep the stash. Start doing some twisties or whatever.
Have you done that before?
No. I get worried that I look like way too much of a creep. Like,
yeah.
I don't know.
Like, you think you look like Doc Holliday and you look like some weirdo,
Yeah, like, I like to talk to strangers, not in a weird way. Like, I just like to make friendly conversation, you know what I mean? So, like, I don't want to look that creepy when I'm trying to make random friendly conversation with people I don't know.
Yeah, for sure. Like you go to a park and like somebody's like, oh, which kid is yours? Or like none of them. Like,
Sir, you've been sitting here for 20 minutes.
My bad. I just like strangers.
Yeah. You gotta be careful how you say that because I get in trouble. I do like talking to strangers though, you know what I mean? Just having like a random friendly conversation with someone that you'll never talk to ever again in your life. Like, oh, that was a nice encounter.
Yeah. Damn. Thomas really had to pee. That's a long pee.
I think my record is like a minute and a half.
Who is actually in it? That's insane.
Yeah, it hurt. Like I had to go so bad, and I remember it was easily over. I don't know the exact time, but
what are you talking about?
Well, I'm getting older, so I don't pee for a very long time.
Oh,
but I pee like 15 times a day.
You got that
I'm
prostate.
Not kidding. It's a medical condition at this point.
Yeah, for sure.
Oh yeah, bro. Dude, it's the Army, man. It does it to you. I'll get money for it though. I'll get compensated.
Yeah, you will. Here in a year, you're gonna be sweet compensated.
Oh man, living that way.
Can't wait. Clapping for you.
Thank you. With one hand.
Yes, with one hand.
I was talking about the longest piss I ever had, Thomas. A minute and a half, something like that.
I've had those.
Nobody
before.
called in. We didn't have anything to talk about.
That's okay. I mean, this is the driest stuff on planet Earth. Me and Perry are obsessed with it.
I mean,
yeah, I love it too. It's so I'm so passionate about it. I love talking about it and learning about it with you and Scott and everybody. It's awesome. I love it. But to callers and to the small amount of people that are on call in, we're not going to get a lot of people who want to sit here and listen for a lecture in an hour and a half,
Right. Yeah, that was a collegiate level
they're lost
for an hour and a half. Yeah, they're lost.
Yep. Well, let's think about some skeptical ideas. I mean, we got Vlad.
Vlad's here.
Vlad's with us.
Thomas, Travis, how's everyone?
How are you doing, Vlad?
I heard you talking about the philosopher Christian Bale, Batman. What was that?
Not Christian Bale.
Christian Bale, Batman. I was like, wow. Christian Bale was a philosopher?
Hey,
what's going on?
Vlad. So he's actually pretty spot on. Like I'm sure you're familiar with like all of the big evangelical guys that are kind of like going into heresy and all that stuff. Well, so in Batman, he essentially says like you either die a hero or live long enough to see yourself become the villain. So it's like Tim Keller, Matt Chandler, like that's it, bro. He is a philosopher, bro.
Yeah, right there. Genius. Exactly.
He called it.
Exactly. Yeah, with Batman is something. There's a lot to learn in those movies, believe it or not. And I'm pretty sure you guys seen all the different variations. But anyway, I want to know more of this fideism. I've heard of it in different senses in regards to Bale. What was the thing? You said he was Calvinist, then he became Catholic, then he went back to Calvinism.
It says Bale was born in a Calvinist family, and during the early stages of his life, he converted into Catholicism before returning to Calvinism. It says
Wow,
this
that's a
conversion
journey.
between religions made him leave France to go to a more tolerant Holland.
Yeah, Holland was known at the time to be, of course, a Protestant country, especially in the midst of probably the Catholic Protestant wars. So there was a lot of that going on. In regards to Soren Kierkegaard, I've read up a little bit on him. I think he's considered the first existential in regards to philosophy.
He is
even
one of
though
the
he,
first existentialists.
yeah,
You're right. You're right.
even though truly biblically it's King Solomon who's the first existentialist king. When he talks about vanity of vanities, but of course that's a
Well, he said
different
all is
story.
vanity.
All is that exactly. So in regards to biblical, King Solomon was very wise, but he's considered another form of existential, even though it's not like Soren Kierkegaard. The problem was he uses words like plastic, paltry, because he saw the church in Holland very flat, not doing its job, what God has called it to do. Very loveless, just routine, show up on Sundays kind of thing. So he was disenchanted, disenfranchised, so he became very critical of it. The problem along the way is that atheists caught on to this and they started just attacking church. Whether if he was a good Christian, if he showed true colors, I don't know. I would have to read more on him, but he does have books on, I think, fear and trembling. He did bring up the topic on the teleological suspension of argument regarding Abraham's son. That basically, is it applicable to God? Things like that. I mean, I've read some. I'm not an expert on him, but he does make you think on a lot of things. But the thing is, he was controversial, and because he was the Danish church by then had probably gone into a period of liberalism, which later on showed form of progressivism after going into post-modernity after the 1900s, right? Late 1800s, early 1900s of what we have today. So when the church becomes like that, you're going to get guys that, like the Soren Kierkegaard type, that become very critical, but instead of becoming basically instead of becoming the tool, the vessel to clean it up, to restore it, they become its arch critic per se, and almost like a rival. Yeah, and when atheists and people that hate the church catch on, they start attacking and going after that. But the thing is, with him, he came from a different. I don't think he meant it. No different than Nietzsche, but Nietzsche was a totally different Friedrich Nietzsche.
Completely. Now, he was an existentialist along Kierkegaard, but he was a completely different type of existentialist. So,
oh yeah. And again, his writings are controversial too, but it's to look at. And he didn't die a good death. He died in a funny house. I think he lost his sight. He had syphilis. People say that he was maybe visiting, the brothels or something like that. Other people said that he could have been in the midst of when they used to, doctor was meeting people to open up the wounds of somebody at war or somebody from the streets that needed surgery, and he got contaminated. I mean, there's many stories, but he wasn't God's friend. He came from a line of family, though, the Friedrich Nietzsche of Lutherans, I believe. They called him the little pastor, but he never embraced it. He actually became a devil. He was the devil.
The devil?
He was the devil. If you're not God's friend, you're the devil. I'm sorry. Sorry, Thomas.
I thought you said
you're not the only
devil.
one.
I thought you said
no,
not
the devil. A devil.
Okay.
Yeah.
I was like, how am I
Yeah, Thomas, you're not the only one, my friend.
Okay.
You're not the only one. But you could be God's friend whenever you want to come to our side.
I'm
be more
on
than welcome.
nobody's side right now. I'm on my side.
But anyway, so what's up with tonight's topic? What are you guys going to go into? Because the reason I bring this up is Mace brought up a cool topic. He brought 2 pedophile hunters. I didn't, even though I didn't say anything there, I wrote some stuff on the
Yeah.
text chat, and it was very interesting to hear these lads. Very interesting.
Well, real quick, Vlad. I mean, we can go back to talking about Macy's show if you want to, but we went through everything for about an hour and a half about the history of philosophical skepticism. Just like last time, we did an overview of philosophical skepticism. We went over when you jumped in and heard the Bale part, that was towards the end of all the stuff that we've been talking about tonight. So you missed a decent amount of it, but hopefully
Of course, I missed a decent. Sorry for that. I was right in the midst of shopping at Walmart. But at least you ended up talking about Batman. I didn't know.
Talking about Christian Bale.
Christian Bale's like, well.
Yeah, he's not.
I never looked at Batman like that, but hey, it's true.
Yeah, Batman was a philosopher in the 1600s.
That's awesome. So what else are you gonna go into? Are you gonna?
I mean, we can go into anything. Once I cover my topic and make the episodes for people in the future, so they can come back and listen to the whole series and learn themselves. Kind of skip to wherever they want to in the video. I don't really have a specific topic. I don't really want to. If we get into religion, that's okay, but I'd like to stay away from politics usually, if we can. But I don't mind talking about the pedophile hunters. I don't mind talking about that or any other thing that anybody wants to bring up. Scott, did you have something you wanted to throw in? Honenheim?
Oh, I could say that you're my God's friend, Thomas, so don't worry about this lesser God. He's meaningless.
Let's go back to pedophile hunters. That in itself was something. No, but I was going to ask you, Thomas, why did you leave out Kant? Why did you want to cover Immanuel Kant?
Because everybody knows his
We've
stuff.
talked about him for probably a total of 12 hours on Thomas's shows.
Yeah, we've talked a lot about Kant in the schools of thought. We've covered him quite a bit. So he was a skeptic, obviously, but it was in different ways because he believed in metaphysical categories, and he believed in ontological dependency on subjective transcendental idealism, his version of it. So getting into all of that, he had his own lexicon and vocabulary for his types of ethics, and he didn't specifically practice skepticism except by companions of guilt argument. So
he was skeptical of other people's
skepticism.
Yeah, he
was skeptical of other people's skepticism. Wow. That's called a metaskeptic.
Well, no.
Yeah, if you're skeptical of skepticism, that's metaskeptic.
Not that. He was skeptical of other people's metaphysics, yet he was dogmatic about his own metaphysics. So
yes, he was. And he was very dogmatic about his normative ethics, his deontologies.
Yeah, Hume awoke him from his dogmatic slumber, but it was only a nap because he obviously went right back to being dogmatic.
Well, it was because of men like Kant, and not only that, I believe he was considered an enlightened thinker. So because of him, we have the countries we live in, whether in Western civilization, right?
Yeah,
especially here in the U.S., France.
He's very influential, especially on our legal system when it comes to things like intent. So if a brick falls off a roof and you accidentally kick it off and hit someone in the head, that's not as bad as you purposely kicking the brick off the roof and hitting the guy on the head. So intent, as Kant put it, with his categorical imperative, had a lot to do with our morality and legal system and whatnot.
Yeah,
and he was a
intent
Christian,
is important.
so he got it. He got a lot of his do unto others as they would unto you. He was very influenced by his. I think he was Protestant. I'm pretty sure his family.
He was when he was younger, but I don't know if yeah. After he came up with his ethics and transcendental idealism and all that, I don't know what he was.
I don't know how much of his religious beliefs actually entered into his critique of pure reason. I think was very secular, along with most other of his work. But
that's what I see anyway.
Yeah.
Well, guys, we've covered a lot. Doesn't seem like people got a lot on their minds here.
That's a first.
That's a first. Yeah, I'm surprised we don't have more opinions coming out. I'm down to keep the show going as long as everybody's having a good time. I don't know of anything else that we can really cover in terms of philosophical. We've pretty much got that down pat. Anything that you can think of, Perry, that we could cover? I mean, I don't want to end it early if we don't have to, but it looks like we're not getting many callers on the specific topic that we're talking about. So,
yeah, I mean, you brought up Wittgenstein in terms of that. The issue is we don't even understand what we're saying. Kind of is how I interpreted whatever you said about him. And I think
what
about
did
this,
I say about his ass?
I mean, regardless, I think about this every day, and it bothers me to a certain degree because we're talking to each other where we are pretty confident that we understand what we're saying and whatnot. But when it comes to really understanding, for example, axioms or whatever you want to make foundationally or presuppositionally, you have to define what you're saying. You have to define that word. You then have to define the words that you're using to define that one word. And then it goes on forever, and it's like, what meta definition can we come up with to truly understand perfectly, one-to-one, what we're saying? And I think, I don't know, I mean, does that bother you? Do you think that we have a good enough linguistic capability, a big enough vocabulary in order to describe?
No, I don't.
Yeah, me neither.
I mean, I really don't think that we have the adequate tools linguistically to even describe some of these ideas.
Do you think it can come about in the next millennia where we become
Yeah, I mean, if we
keep
building upon... I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you.
No, you're good.
If we keep building upon the English language and we keep adding terms and we keep changing and fitting new terms in there, there's going to be easier... Because, I mean, if you've noticed, over all the readings of skepticism, I started to repeat myself after all I've read about these philosophers. You know what I mean? We'd get to repetitions of patterns in language that, be like, oh, well, that's exactly what this guy was saying. That's exactly what this guy was saying.
Ideas.
Yeah, reoccurring ideas, exactly. Variations on a theme, as it were.
So that's some hope for this issue that we bring up.
That is. I mean, I'm not above naive realism. I mean, if that's the case, then that's the case. But I just don't see a good argument for a one-to-one. If anybody can make an argument for a one-to-one that is satisfactory, I'll change my mind and be a naive realist. So
it just seems like any good philosophical conversation that you can have ends up ending with trying to define your words and what you're saying, and it just it comes to a stop at some point. Which
everything starts with linguistics. Math is a language, music is a language. Everything starts with the linguistics. Everything, I think, anyway. Our understanding of the philosophy of mind, our understanding of philosophy and psychology and science, it all is predicated on linguistics and language existing.
Yeah.
So Thomas, was that said? Sorry.
I was just going to say, in German, Wissenschafts is science, but it includes a bunch of more trivial aspects of life, whereas it's more truncated in the English language, and it's more hard science, physics, chemistry, psychology, and stuff like that. So, I mean, I guess it's just one example.
It is.
It's good. Go ahead, Vlad. What were you going to say?
When a debate or, guys are arguing, in order to clarify, how could this language be settled where there's no confusion and going back and forth?
Right.
We have to all agree on a lexicon. Well, I was just going to say, that's why academic philosophy exists, is so we can all agree on these terms. We may not have the exact agreement. We're all going to have individual interpretations of all this stuff. But, I mean, me and Perry know what anti-realism and realism are because we've studied these lexicons that professional philosophers have used. And so it allows us to get close enough to each other to be able to define these concepts in a way that we can use them in our lives. But, I mean, it's not, there's only so many million words of the English language to describe an infinite amount of things in the universe, as far as I can tell. So,
So I could see. So especially when you know this topic more, like for example, what I would appreciate is like for example, something I kind of credit a little bit to Perry. Like I got a maybe the $8 copy at Barnes and Noble of the Meditation of who was it?
Yeah, buddy, Marcus
You see,
Aurelius.
so there we go, there we go. So I'm going to be going into that, and then maybe later on we could get into it, and maybe
Yeah,
into
yeah,
Marx, because I
exactly.
mean, there's philosophy I would like to, and hopefully, maybe to those that lean to the left and say, oh, I'm a socialist,
It seems like you're
they
interested
haven't
in
even read.
political philosophy, right? The
Oh, hell
philosophy of
yeah.
politics. Okay.
I mean, bring it, just bring it. I want to deal with it. I have no problem. The thing is right now in our day and age, we're dealing with a lot of these people that call themselves communist socialists, but they don't really know what they're talking about.
That's an issue with language. Just what I was saying.
Yes,
It's a
yeah.
linguistic issue, yes.
So they're bandwagon jumpers, but I don't think they've done the work.
True.
Really, they just wagon jump easily because they heard somebody and they got all stirred up and they'll follow along like nothing. And I think that should be cleared. Go ahead.
I am sorry to break this to you though, Vlad. Like once it comes to politics though, all bets are off, right? Like people on the right were calling themselves deplorable within all stretches of the imagination. If you were truly deplorable, you wouldn't be announcing that to anybody, right? But it became a thing because Hillary Clinton said a basket of deplorables, right? So like you have to also be able to separate political influence and things, because political philosophy is different from, I think, where you're going with this, right?
Okay.
Like you don't have a true philosophical difference with these people. These people might call themselves socialists, but they still, want a democratically elected government that represents them on the basis of majority vote, right?
Yeah, I mean, I've heard. Don't get me wrong, Scott. Not that I would
Vlad, we got a
discard
lot of
them.
static coming from, brother.
Oh, sorry. It's just I believe that there's people that, again, they're bandwagon jumpers. Like for example, if I say I'm a deplorable as a conservative, it's like a mockery to the term. I could care less really what they say. I just so it's like that, right? But I know where I stand in my convictions as a conservative. But the thing is, what I notice here in Call-In, and I'm not saying you guys at all, because I haven't seen this in the Pangburn Hangout. I've seen this more along the line. Many people, and that they go around peddling that like they truly know what they're talking about, and then they hate on each other because this guy doesn't know what he's talking about, or this gal, it goes back and forth.
Yeah.
So what I would say in something like that.
Well, I do know 100%, Vlad. There are people on the left who will say like I'm a socialist and communist in the exact same way that people on the right are deplorable. Right,
Vlad, are you beating an ice bucket of ice to death or something? What are you doing?
I just left my apartment.
When you get into the politics of Vlad, like people do some weird shit. It has nothing to do with any stance or actual position that they're taking. They're just trying to get the other side. And once you're just trying to get the other side, all bets are off. All bets are off.
And it should be like that.
To get that scratch. I don't know if that's you or somebody else, but it's really bad scratching, loud scratching sounds going on.
Oh, it must be. Hold on. It must be my Bluetooth. Sorry, guys. Is this better?
Okay. It sounds a lot better now. Yeah, that's a lot better. Yeah, much better. I just wanted the audience to be able to hear because I couldn't hear what you were saying. So
yeah, it's one of those things. We should have a show like that. Even though Mace did have one on communism sucks, it didn't really do it justice. I think it was more of a mockery, and I did agree with him on some things, but it should be because it falls in the realm of philosophy. And honestly, a lot of these
Marx was a philosopher.
I could care less. Really, it's not. Yeah, so that's what I'm saying. if you guys are going to talk about it, I know it goes into the realm of politics, but it's just something to clarify. Just throw it in there, see what people say. Because I remember when G covered and he said about fascism, it's a flip coin of communism, socialism. Oh, it rattled cages like crazy, but it didn't rattle mine because I'm already used to that language. I heard that through F.A. Hayek. That's why I brought him up. I was like, this is
Yeah,
nothing
but
new. It's just to people is
that was
it.
with G. With G, he was just wrong though, right? I mean, that's like he was just wrong. Like there are definitional things like right is different from left, right? Correct? Like your right hand is different from your left hand. Would you agree with that? Definitionally?
Vlad?
There's kind of differences, but I think what he got to the core of it is he was saying whether it's authoritarian or totalitarian, when you have a centralized government that subjugates its people. And so I was looking at that because both systems, the dictatorship of Agustino Pinochet in Chile, sponsored and supported by the U.S. government, or whether it's now in China or Lenin and Stalin in Russia, or Francisco Franco in Spain, they're going to control you. It doesn't matter if it's red or blue flag. You're under their control.
Yeah. So
it doesn't matter.
I say just call it authoritarian. Don't call it fascist. Don't call it communist. Like there is the definition of it, like an authoritarian regime, like regardless of what left or right politics they have.
Because I got to do other things, but I'll be here listening.
Right?
You have passed.
Guys, what are we going to talk? No, you're fine, dude. You're always welcome here, Vlad.
Dude, I know Peter. Dude, we got a guy called Incel in the bottom. Dude, he's got to call in. He goes by Incel? Well, what?
If that's his actual picture, he's a handsome young man.
A handsome Incel.
Vlad is back. He's back.
I keep on trying to get him back in, but
he's back. He's there.
Having trouble. He's having trouble. Okay, it's just messing up on him, apparently. Anybody can start any topic they want to. I have nothing on my mind anymore. We've beat the topic to death on what I wanted to cover.
Mm-hmm.
What about...
I do think something we talked about earlier goes to... I don't know, maybe like Josh, you tend to ask people like, what's your foundation for that, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I think people generally have the same foundation. They might have different axioms of why they say that foundation exists, right?
In terms of metaphysical grounding, is that what you're talking about?
Yeah, like grounding for your arguments. Like Josh will say, like,
epistemological grounding. Gotcha.
Yeah, like what's your definition of that? Where are you coming from? I tend to think everybody's pretty much coming from the same place. I think Josh would just say that's God. I would just say I don't know, but we end up in the same place no matter what.
You could postulate something different. I mean, there's so many different opinions on this. I mean, my God.
Mm-hmm.
What was I going to ask? I was going to ask Josh something, but I forgot.
I thought Josh was like, I thought he was live right now. Maybe he's not.
Yeah, he's probably off. Oh, yeah, he's here. Okay, cool.
Okay, cool.
Cool.
You're cool.
Yes, thank you, and you're cool as well.
Your face is cool.
Hey-o.
We had was that last week we had Jenny on getting angry at us, or was that
last week she was angry at me.
That was like 2 weeks ago, yeah.
Okay.
Because I
wonder where she's
posted
at.
some websites on the chat.
Well,
Yeah.
to me, it seems Jenny's totally fine unless you bring up vaccines, and then
Then
it's
she
like,
goes mad shit crazy. Or if you
That's what
bring
I
up
did, yeah.
established like medical science, she's not down with that. So, oh.
yeah, that's about it with her. She's pretty fucking like chill with everything else.
Yeah, I like talking to her about everything else. She seems really intelligent, but man, about those vaccines, she's not gonna let that shit go.
Yeah, this foundation thing's very
My God.
interesting, and hopefully I get to talk to Jay Dyer about this. And it does seem like rather than say they don't know, the Christians just assume there's this type of Christians assume they know what that basis is. That's yeah. Because I'd say
some, not all. My parents have a completely different interpretation than Josh's.
Yeah, but everybody assumes that they know. Even saying
Josh?
you don't know, even saying you don't know is still a knowledge claim, and there's a basis.
Yes, it is.
So everybody has a basis.
I don't know is a knowledge claim, yes. But the problem with that is it's paradoxical. So we have to either reconcile that or just accept it.
It's also a negative claim versus a positive claim, and I think that has to be taken into account as well, right?
But I don't know.
I know that I don't know would be a positive claim.
Yes.
The problem with that is that it is a paradox. It's like the statement, I always lie. If you said it was true, it'd be wrong. If you said it was false, you'd be wrong. However, if you said it's not true, you'd be right. If you said it's not false,
how can you know that you don't know? I understand.
So it
kind
of falls
what
into
you're
that
saying,
logical formula.
Yeah.
Well, it's kind of the beginning of what Socrates said. You know, he says basically, I know that I do not know, or I understand that I don't understand completely. You know what I mean? It's not an admission to say I can't know anything, because
I think that's not,
in my opinion, my standards of knowledge, I don't require absolute certainty for something to be knowledge. I consider gravity to be something I know about, but I mean, it's not an absolute thing. Obviously, it's just our little percentage of what we understand.
I do think there's that. I do think there is an issue of, I don't know.
Yes, you have knowledge of your ignorance. I'm sorry, Scott.
I was going to say, I guess it just seems to me like it's maybe an issue of like not having like the best terms for something. Because when you say I know I don't know, it's more that you're saying you're aware that you don't have all the
knowledge you have knowledge of your ignorance on that topic.
Different.
That's a better way to put it. I'm aware that I don't know. That is a good way. I am conscious that I don't know.
Yeah.
I am an epistemic. What is the word? I'm an epistemic agnostic, but I also lean towards the idea that JTB or JTB plus is the best thing we got. Yeah. So,
sometimes you just got to let the dice roll, my man.
Let it flow, let it flow. Roll on.
Like, yeah, this is the best we got. Let's fucking roll them.
That's what I do most times in philosophy. I'm just like, yep, rolling with it. I'm not super strict. I'm not a strict dad.
Yeah.
Perry, you've been quiet. I'm going to make you talk
that's
here in a
sort
minute.
of the interesting thing about like reading stuff about these philosophers. I bet like they're just like normal day to day. Like they weren't that strict, you know, but like when you write something out in a book, you gotta like be like you gotta put it in a certain way, and everybody's been like postulating over it.
So Immanuel Kant said you should never lie, which means he would never lie to the Nazis that you know a Jewish family. That's horseshit. He would lie to them.
Yes, exactly,
and he should.
And he should. Yes, I agree.
Yeah, exactly.
So most philosophers in the ancient sense, or even in pre-Enlightenment sense, wanted certainty. They wanted certainty. And I know some people feel as though they've had that. That's cool. I have never felt certainty. I don't even know what that feeling is like. So,
yeah.
Um,
But I also do wonder if like maybe there's since when they were saying certainty, it was like this sort of like esoteric idea of certainty.
yes.
Right?
I mean, Descartes was trying to be absolutely certain that he wasn't being deceived by the demon. You know what I mean?
Yes, yeah.
And he just called it his first principles, which are arbitrary axioms that he defined in his systems, in his systems philosophy.
Yep. I mean, because I don't know. I guess to me it seems like that's the way you break down like the fundamentals of like how you're gonna do it, like how you need to think about things. I guess, but like when the rubber hits the road, right? I mean, it just it's messy.
I'm gonna bet that most philosophers, I would say, post Renaissance and post Renaissance, probably didn't take most of their like super skeptical critiques very as seriously as they could have. Like Diogenes back in Greek times, super skeptical. He just went out in the woods and lived by himself and just disbelieved everything. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That was the only way to get in touch with nature and find ataraxia, is just give up all beliefs. So maybe he lived like that. Marcus Aurelius is said to have lived his life as a Stoic, like very well, but we only know this from his writings.
He did apparently
kill. If he actually acted
torture.
that way.
Yeah,
I imagine he did, but
I bet he had a maid or like a servant or two that's like, fuck that guy. That guy's a fucking piece of shit, dude.
Always.
Guaranteed.
Always gonna be people that don't like you. It's just difference in opinion. But like,
honey ham. Sorry, shit.
That's good.
Came out a bit weird.
What's up,
Aurelius? Didn't Aurelius like kill hundreds
ham?
of Christians, like put them to death really horribly? And was that not Aurelius? All right, I read that. I'll have to find it then.
No,
I know,
No.
but
no.
I'd have to find.
Marcus Aurelius was one of the last great Stoics. I don't know if it was Marcus. Maybe he did. I mean, he had to do emperor stuff. You know what I mean? So I'm sure he probably did put some people to death.
Yeah. Oh, guarantee he did some questionable shit as an emperor.
Well, as a Stoic, he would have accepted if his generals told him that there was a bunch of like traitors. He'd be like, "Okay, do your duty. I don't want to hear anything about it." You know what I mean?
Exactly.
So that's if he was truly living the Stoic ideal. He was seeking eudaimonia, but we know from his meditations that he was one of the loneliest people on the planet because he was a genius. He was an emperor. Nobody could equal him in status. And so he just philosophized himself into living this life that made him insanely lonely. It's like the perfect Stoic situation. You have everything given to you, but you deny it because you feel Stoic. You know what I mean? It's such a crazy thing to think about Marcus Aurelius's existence. It's the perfect example of Stoicism using itself to be ascetic, where you don't give yourself pleasure. That's the word, asceticism. Yeah, where you deny yourself pleasure to seek eudaimonia.
Yeah,
and living in accordance with nature is what most Stoics called it. So I imagine that's what Marcus called it as well. But he kind of had the final say in what was really spoken about in Stoicism. I'm babbling now, guys.
He rejected his own sons. Is that right?
Is that what you're reading?
It's so anti-traditional that disaster. But whether or not Marcus ought to have known to be so, the rejection of his son's claim certainly involves. Yeah, I've never actually read much about old Marcus.
You should read parts of his meditations because it's really cool. Or as Perry and me do, go watch
you can get meditations
Segru.
Free.
Was it Michael Segru?
Audio books, and you can. Yeah, it's fucking brilliant.
Perry.
Yeah. Oh. Oh yeah. believe me, I can find anything I want on the internet for free. just tell me what it is.
You'll not find my book.
I've got ways.
Yes. You don't still use torrents, do you?
Man, I haven't used torrents in like 2 years.
Yeah, I wouldn't want that shit on my computer now. It's just what, Bitcoin servers or farmers, whatever.
Yep.
What do you use if you don't use torrents? Do you have like a VPN and you do some kind of peer-to-peer thing, or what do you do?
Well, I still have God, what is it? I still have like an FTP client that I've used forever that just like you can go on there and just find shit. It's like somebody's got an FTP server up somewhere that just fucking everybody uploads to, and anything I want to find, I jump on there, boom, download.
Okay, that's fucking dope.
Yeah. God, I've had that thing since like the 90s, and just never gonna away.
Oh. Well, if I need anything, I'm just going to ask you to fucking.
Right now, I'm thinking
send it to me.
how to combat the transcendental argument.
Honheim, what you thinking?
There must be some kind of other basis, other kind of grounds for what's going on in reality. I'm sure there is. There has to be. There is necessarily something there. So I'm just thinking what that is. And well, definitely for it to study in the transcendental argument.
Oh, you think something exists by necessity?
Anyway,
in the grand
just because
scheme?
we can't identify it, and doesn't mean it doesn't exist.
Yeah, tag is just basically saying that the laws of logic are
that's
either God
the gaps
or either beholden to
that's
God,
not
or either
yet.
God is beholden to them.
Yeah, but also like what do you need to be explained that there is no indication of it at all, right? So like we don't know what gravity is, but we can see gravity.
Laws of logic and
the
laws of logic really. I'd say there is something behind it. There is a logical universe behind it, whether it be, it has to be physical, I'd say, and then it's. No, go ahead, dude.
Now, there's only three options to the tag argument. I didn't mean to interrupt you. I'm sorry. The three options are:
I don't
God
think it has
is
to
the
be
laws
God.
of
I think
logic,
it could
God
be
is beholden to the
just a
laws
physical,
of logic, or God
the world,
is
the
above the
universe,
laws of
physically
logic.
is logical. Oh yes.
Well,
Yes,
I
yes.
was just
So
describing
just
the transcendental
to
argument for
combat
God's
that
existence.
argument,
That's what
because,
tag is. You're just talking about
because
transcendental
then that
nature,
makes
right?
the whole universe subjective to God's opinion, and then I have problems with morality. I have problems with all sorts of stuff if that's the case. Omnipresence, all of that stuff, and then it being a being, I have problems with. It causes far more problems than solutions, in my opinion.
Yeah, but then what's the problem you're trying to solve then, right? So like if there's no way to interact, we don't even have like gravity to demonstrate that it's actually there. We have absolutely nothing, and you're just making.
I don't understand where you've gone there.
Because we have logic,
there's no way
it's there. I mean, I just don't see.
Well, we base the laws of logic on how the universe works, don't we? Because it corresponds to the so therefore the universe works in a predictive way. It works in a logical way. So that's why I'm saying that the base of everything is logical. It is because the laws of logic work. They correspond to reality. Do they not? They work pretty well, it seems.
Ooh, okay. Yeah. So
exactly. That's what I'm saying.
I guess I would just put it differently. I think logic is a secondary, not a primary, right? So I think.
So So logic works. It's useful. It predicts things, and to prove them wrong, you would have to use them. So that is why they are metaphysically grounded. They're a metaphysical transcendental grounding, but they're not completely arbitrary,
It's
but
language,
they're
yeah.
normative
It's really
in
a
such a
language.
way that we understand A equals A and things like that, right? We ought to reason this way is basically what those three laws are saying.
Yeah, and I would say even like before language, right? Like we had to have this fundamental notion before we could even form language in the first place.
Yeah, like cavemen and shit. Absolutely.
Yeah. So,
Yeah, but
so like
that was based on input, though, right?
It was based on input, but I guess I just don't think it's necessarily language based. I mean, that's the way we have to interface with it.
Well, they had body language, they had micro expressions on their face, they had all kinds of linguistic
all kinds,
tells, you know what I mean, and descriptions. They just might have not had a spoken language.
Yeah.
They probably had a musical language as well too. That's probably always been around.
I guess I would still argue that the ability to have that language existed before the language itself. I guess is the only thing I'm.
I see. Okay.
Referring to is like it's the ability to have logic, and I think that's.
Let's let Josh jump in here real quick, and then Hohenheim.
Oh,
Josh, did you want to say something? Oh, I'm sorry. I thought you were getting ready to lay it down on us.
No, I was going to bring my wife some chips and salsa, but I can lay down.
I was going to say it comes.
But let
salsa.
let Hohenheim go because he was going to make a point to Scott.
Yeah, I think he would.
No, don't ever apologize. One thing I've got to say. I'm so happy my whole name is now visible.
Apologize to me.
I can see my name. It's been Hon and Hair for a long time, so I'm there now. Yeah, I just say. It never said Honenheim. It always said Hon and Hair. The I am.
How did you get it visible? It still says Honenheim for me. What the heck?
Does it? Is there 3 dots?
But there's 3 dots.
All right.
Dots.
Oh well.
Why doesn't it just say?
All right. Darn. They're still on the phone. You can't see it. So it's just
Not
on
for
the
me.
desktop then.
Oh, you're on your phone.
I am on my phone.
That's all right. He's on your... Damn you,
I'm sorry.
phone.
That's my fault.
The phone.
Yeah,
is
I'd say
fault.
It is my fault.
the laws of logic. Yeah, I'd just say that
P4.
it goes prior to
I'll buy a
language. I
computer.
think the whole idea of language and understanding is
What were you
based
gonna
on
say
the
about
fact that our
yeah.
brains work mechanically, biologically. So that existed far before. So to have understanding and logic existed the second we had a logical universe that worked kind of deterministically and like cause and effectly or whatever that word would be.
Correct. Yeah, correct.
Causality.
I guess. Yeah, I guess just the point that
No.
I don't know where that came from.
God, I don't know.
And
I
for
don't
you,
know.
your opinion is that's God. Is that right?
I have no idea. No, my relationship would be with. Yeah. My relationship would be with Christ, then Christ to God.
Remember, Hohenheim's
then God in. I have no idea what God is. That's a really hard. I don't think anyone could. And the Christians even more so. Otherwise, there wouldn't be the need for Christ. Anyway,
I don't either.
Digressing. I'd say that the universe. I have no idea what the universe structure would be. It could be some kind of like grid, like an even more Higgs boson kind of grid than the Higgs boson. Something more fundamental than that, maybe. I have no idea. But it would be a logical thing that would be the basis for everything, and possibly. So there would be a basis, and there has to necessarily be a basis. Otherwise, we wouldn't have the fields and reality as it is.
Okay, would that also?
I have no idea.
Yeah. That thing would be the basis for Christ too, right?
Holy crap! This is where the certainty. That's where certainty bothers me. Where I often clash with Christians. Because, I have no idea what is going on there, and I wouldn't like to make assumptions because that is also by the Christians. You're causing a sin there, which worries me a bit. But then that bothers me. That worries me, and all sorts of shit goes on in my head there. So I see. I have no idea what's going on there. And where Christ and God fit in the whole universe and scheme of things, I would just say that they are far more powerful, far more influential, far older, possibly if time is existent to them or whatever they are, whatever it is. I don't know, but I'm hoping to find out. Yeah, I love all of that. Yeah, I'd say.
Have you ever heard of the Kardashev level 6 civilization?
Like if you could compare
level 6, Jesus Christ.
No, but I'm being serious. There is 1, 2, 3, 4, and then there's a postulate.
I need 1 to 3.
6 would be universe manipulating level of society.
Yes.
Yeah, one is we're not even 1 yet. 1 would be using all of your planet's resources to the maximum of its capability. So if maximum efficiency from our resources on our planet, you know what I mean? Nuclear power, all that kind of stuff. We're like at a 0.9 on the Kardashev scale. Number 2 is being able to use your sun.
Yeah.
Sun. Can you imagine a 0.2 civilization, let alone a 0.5
Dyson spheres? Yeah. So then level 3 is being able to control your solar system.
For galaxy?
And everything within and outside of it, around it. And then level
5 universe.
Oh, wait, 3 or 4. 4 is galaxy.
Level
5 is universal.
Multiversal.
No,
and
I
6
thought
is multiversal, I think. Yeah.
Oh, I thought 5 was local clusters, and then 6 was.
Oh, then 7 must be
universal. You may be right. You may be right about that. 6 might be
time
universal, and then below that might be clusters. Because we're in the Virgo sleeper cluster. Yeah, I would make that one up.
So
I would
hopefully
just say
God is
arbitrarily
there.
7 would be like
6
multiversal or time transcendent or something like that.
Which would be cool. He could even be in 3, 4 for all we know.
6 or 7, yeah.
What if God is a level 9 dungeon master and we just don't know? It's like fucking. It's like next you go over here.
See, I feel that
talk on the Pangburn fucking Discord channel.
I feel that's far more realistic because rather than the magicness just
got a British accent for some reason.
It seems naive and well, it's not creative enough. Maybe it's just me. I want it to be creative enough, so it's not like personal looking down on it, but it doesn't feel creative enough to me.
Josh, you just chilling, bro?
Living the dream, man.
Living the dream.
That's per usual.
I just didn't want to exclude you from the conversation. Perry, are you with us?
Parents.
I want to get incel up.
Perry
Parents?
is not with us.
Are we calling them parents now? This is great.
Parents.
Yeah.
Parents.
Parents.
Is that his real name?
Yeah, that's totally his real name. You didn't know that?
Parents? No.
Yeah,
No.
Yeah, totally.
No.
My name is Josh. I have nothing eloquent about my name at all. That is way above my pay grade. He must be rich.
Your
He's in a
name
mansion.
backwards is just like
That. It's ridiculous.
yeah.
Thanks for bringing it up.
Scott is Tox.
Dude, Tox.
That's actually kind of cool, though. Scott's Tots, worst Office episode ever. I'll never watch it again. Just FYI. Terrible episode.
Dude, Scott's Tox, like if I became like a watchmaker, great name for a fucking.
Oh my gosh, let's go. Or if he became a drug dealer, that's like a cool street name.
That's my street name.
But you got to say streets, like I'm from the streets, you know, not streets. Yeah, that's
From
code.
the street.
That way nobody knows what you're talking
We get
about.
incel.
Oh, we got Brett. Sweet.
What's his name backwards?
Try my name backwards.
Terb? Turb?
Terb.
That could be cool. That could
Treb.
be cool or terrible.
No, it wouldn't be Treb because the R is at the first of the
Yeah, that's right.
Terb.
Yeah, Turb. What's up, guys?
What's up?
Not much. Just put the Christmas tree up and doing the holiday thing.
Nice.
Yeah, it smells 1,000 times better.
It's a pagan holiday. I can't celebrate it. I'm just kidding. I'm totally kidding. I
It is a
love
pagan
Christmas.
holiday, though. He is correct.
I love
Yeah.
Christmas.
Dude,
I mean-
aren't all holidays except Easter pagan holidays?
I like Christmas too. I just there's only one. I mean, I don't like it being celebrated for like 2 months.
Yeah, no, it's kind of.
It gets a little old.
Do you guys have Costco in the South?
No,
Or
Fuck yeah,
Sam's Club. What do y'all have?
we got Sam's Club. Sam's Club,
Okay.
yeah.
Yeah, Costco is our equivalent, and they have Christmas stuff all the way from July. It's like, all right, dude, I get it. Like, it's kind of a little much. But
How dare you judge them for living in the moment year round?
Dude, you know what
For
actually
cheap,
happened with that? Like maybe like 10 years ago, like a purchaser like for Costco bought way too much Christmas shit. It's like, dude, what are we gonna do? We'll just put it out at fucking June every year.
People will buy it. They will.
I'm right here. I'll buy it year round.
Yeah, they totally will. Now here's the real question though, because this is the one, Josh. This is the one that separates enemies from friends. Okay, you ready? You ready for this question?
What the hell?
Real tree or fake tree?
Yeah, real tree. No,
Oh man, this is
Come on.
bad. This is bad. This is worse than anything we ever talked about.
Okay. There's only one right answer in my book, so we might have to end it right now.
Do I have to
Both.
answer before you answer?
Yeah, you could have both.
I'll answer first if you want. It's got to be 100% real.
Oh
Yes.
yeah. So I actually agree with you, but I'm 37. I've got 4 kids.
Okay,
19 in the
understandable.
military.
Yeah,
I
understandable.
we switched
Yeah.
from real tree to fake tree like 6 years ago, bro. I'm not gonna lie to you.
Okay,
I'm not gonna
but
lie.
you have kids. You have people that run and grab stuff. Yeah, okay, I can understand that.
We
But
kept we
also-
kept it going for a long time, and
Yeah.
Also, Brett, how many houses burn down every year from
Too many.
fake
Yeah, because
Christmas
people
trees?
are dummies.
Fake Christmas trees. Real Christmas
every year.
trees.
That's why we stopped. Every year
Yeah.
I burn the house down. That's why we stopped.
Real candle. They're like, let's put real candles on a flammable object. You fucking idiot.
I know. It's fucking insane.
Guys, I'm right here, guys. You don't have to talk to me like I don't exist.
You fucking insane bastard. Insanity.
I actually have. I was just kidding around. I have a friend who, she's the principal of my school. She has 3 cats, and she's like, every time I get a real tree, they are up in that. Like they're jumping around and they ruin the tree. Yeah. And so she gets a fake one and they don't touch it. And she's like, all right, well, fake it is. So that's understandable.
You know what the really boss move is though?
What's that?
No tree. No tree.
Wow. Oh, nope.
Fuck it all. Fuck it all.
You won the game.
Oh,
You win.
come on, man. All right, Scrooge.
Where are you from?
No dinner over at your house. Please, can I have some more?
Oh no, dude! I'll have a wicked dinner. I'll have really good food, but no fucking tree. Don't come at me wanting a fucking tree. But I'll make you a fucking good dinner.
Scott, how long ago did you join ISIS? Like, what's going on here, bro? What's the deal? Just get a
Scott's
tree.
definitely an ISIS.
I'm gonna buy you a tree, bro. I'm gonna send you a tree.
Scott, you can admit it. You hate Tiny Tim. It's all right. He's gonna die. It's fine. It's fine.
Dude, if I had my way, I would kick Tiny Tim's little crooked legs out from underneath him, dude. Like I would fucking.
Hey, you can't do that. Tiny Tim is transgendered now. You can't do that to him. That's not okay now.
Dude.
It's 2022. He's transgendered. Leave him alone.
Come on, that was a good joke. Come on now, bro.
No,
That was a good joke.
That's
That was a good
terrible.
joke. That's a military joke because it's very insensitive but hilarious, and I love it.
Oh, God.
There's probably a
Tiny
bunch of
Tim,
rough
man.
military jokes, I'm sure.
Yes, there are.
Oh my God.
Dead baby
Well-
jokes.
Yeah, Christmas, dead babies. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Dude, I read
Dude, what's worse than a pile of dead babies?
What?
One baby on the bottom that's still alive.
Oh my
What's
god!
worse than
I'm going
that?
to look up good. I'm going to look up good ones.
What's
funny
worse
is
than that?
That's That's a horrible thing to say, but that's actually true.
What's worse than that is that baby
I don't want
has
any
to
babies
eat
to die, but
eat its way out of the pile.
Well, that's just nonsensical.
Like
Jon
Snow.
doesn't make any sense. You just
Jon
lost
Snow. Remember when Jon Snow is trying to climb out of all those bodies and he's like gasping for air?
Oh, yeah, Die Hard 3. I remember that. Yep. That's crazy, dude. What? You're mixing categories.
Yeah, wrong category.
My bad. That's my bad.
That's all good.
Dead baby jokes. That reminds me of the early
No, you can't do it. No.
You guys would be proud of me. Listen to this. So I read an article recently that was trying to say, like, you know, teachers should keep stuff out of classrooms, like shouldn't have holiday things because it's like, you know, like you're technically a government official and all that. And they were saying, like, you know, some kids get sad around the holidays, and, you know, they're making a lot of things like you can't equally, you know, celebrate the holidays. And I was just like, dude, stop being a Scrooge, man. Like, you can put stuff in the classroom. I'm not going to be singing Christmas carols, but like, you can bring in a tree and everybody could put something from their tradition on the tree. Like, it's not, you know what I mean? Like, they're so stupid with their stuff. Like, nothing in the classroom that has happiness. This is an industrial classroom.
Yeah, the next thing you know, Brett, you're going to be outside of an abortion clinic picketing, dude. I mean,
exactly. Yeah.
Which everybody should do that. I'll say everybody should do that. You should all be doing that right now.
The first thing is up.
Abortion is murder.
Is a tree in the there's a tree in the classroom.
I'm the Christian here.
Hold on, we're having a good time. Let's not bring up this topic.
The resident Christian.
Oh my
God. That's my only claim to fame. I'm only here because I love Jesus. But there would be no reason for me to be here.
What's up?
You know, guys,
I would never be around.
What's the question?
Hohenheim's here right now too, though.
No, man. What's the
Hohenheim
question?
is
We got a question.
Christian as well. You're
Sorry.
a Christian.
I wasn't listening. I was messaging my mom. It's her birthday today.
No, the question. Okay.
Yeah. Oh, you can wish her. I'll be there Christmas. I'll get her on camera now in Discord.
Happy birthday,
you can say
let's go.
she's a hero. She's a fucking hero. 80 today. Had 10 kids. She's been a nun.
There you go.
She's a hero.
Yes, she is.
What was the question? Sorry.
Wow. Love it.
Out of life.
They were just kind of talking. I don't know if there was really a question involved.
The question was,
I'll
when
be
you get
in Cyprus
a
for Christmas,
Christmas
so
tree,
be,
do you get a
it'll be
real Christmas tree?
But I live
or
in
a fake
Thailand, so there's no fucking Christmas trees here. So, yeah, sure. Thank you.
Oh,
holy crap!
Can I mail you one?
That'll come with just a box and twigs and just at the bottom of the box.
Shipping on that's gonna be a little much.
Water or something. It's gonna die in it. And I'll get it in February.
Probably, but you know, we can. Hey, Santa's sleigh goes like over 1,000 miles an hour because if you do the math, if he visits every child around the world, he has to go like 1,000 miles an hour.
Dude's gonna have to be going like light speed.
Yeah,
way faster than 1,000 miles, dude.
I mean, I don't know.
Your skin would be peeled off.
Santa's in an F-22 just dropping off packages like a pimp.
Scott, I'm a history teacher, not a math teacher. Don't get me into this.
How did it link to Christianity?
Nonsense, but you know.
All right, who's watching Violent Night? We can talk about that.
Yeah, I don't know how link back.
Oh, I want to see that. I think it'll be stupid fun.
Oh yeah, I love it.
I think Hohenheim's so confused.
Hey, is
I am too.
Is Die Hard a Christmas movie?
Absolutely,
every movie
100%
is a Christmas movie.
Yeah,
100%.
Die Hard is a Christmas movie, even though it was released in summer. Weird.
Was it really?
That's because Christmas is so powerful. You can talk about it year round. Again. Have your lights up year round. If I wasn't married, I have my lights up year round.
Have your lights up year round.
I get trumped.
Yeah.
That would be funny.
Don't you have to take the decorations?
Just to especially if you live close to somebody and it was like super bright in their window, that'd be funny.
What I would
Oh.
say, Josh, like
When
you
you-
and
yeah.
the meth dealer next door would probably have the lights up year round.
I think
Lights up
Josh,
year round.
when did she make you take them down?
So I usually can procrastinate enough to like July, but
Wow.
but usually it's like, hey, January 15th, let's go. I'm like, okay.
Oh my god.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know why people
just a real
really,
moment with me.
Yeah, I really don't know why people don't do some kind of light all year. I mean, you don't have to be holiday.
you have to take them
Yeah.
down because demons
I like
will come
that.
or something. That's what I was
Light show's
told.
fun.
I don't know.
Okay.
You have to put them
No,
up.
I'll have
You
to
have to
find
leave
it.
them up, or they'll
You're supposed to
come.
take them
That's the
down,
opposite.
otherwise
What are you
it's
doing?
an invitation to for demons or some shit. I don't know. I don't know. I'll have to find
I mean,
out.
I know that.
My mum
Biblical,
told me she
but-
was
Yeah.
she was a nun,
That's
so
a
she,
fine.
she knew
tradition,
quite
if
well.
you'd like it.
Oh yeah, yes, that's totally pagan. Yeah.
She just
Oh,
wanted you to
she's,
take them down, so she told you that. She was like, "How am I going to get this guy to do what I want to
I'll
do?
find it. I'll
Tell him
find it.
demons. He'll do what I want." Boom. Mom's
Yeah.
a genius. Genius. I love
Wait.
it.
Your mom was a nun?
Those are the ladies in the Catholic Church.
Yep.
Yeah,
Okay.
they're not.
I don't know.
Yeah,
If there
obviously
was
she-
some confusion.
obviously
like, she's a
obviously she
nun?
left.
What?
Yeah,
I've
she
never
wasn't a
heard of
nun.
that.
They're
She's
not,
not a nun
allowed
now.
to
She
have
was
sex,
a
though,
nun.
right?
So.
I mean, I thought like a nun
They're
was
celibate. Yeah,
it's
bro.
like,
Oh, that's good. That's
oh,
good.
gotcha. Okay.
That's one of the big problems of the Catholic Church is kind of like forcing kind of the clerics and stuff to be celibate. Like that's not a biblical concept for your priests and leaders to be celibate.
Yeah, that's kind of
Doesn't make any
ridiculous.
sense.
No.
Ah.
I felt like there was going to be more into that. Hey,
No.
sex is good within marriage. Do it. Don't deny people that.
What are we denying?
A dick in the ass.
I dig in the ass.
No, don't put your D in an A. Come on, guys. Come on now. Come on now.
Come on.
Come on.
Come
now.
on. Come on. All right.
All right. Skeleton walks into a bar, orders a beer and a mop. But nailed it.
All right. I got a good
You're
dead
all
baby
welcome.
joke.
No more. Oh,
Yes.
God.
Yes.
Why did the dead baby cross the road?
Why?
Because it was stapled to the chicken.
Yes.
That's just one of the dumb ones I
That
came
one?
up with, or I came upon on the internet. It's so stupid.
Explain to me why
like
that's
it.
funny, though. Explain to me why that's funny.
I
you-
don't know, because
you
it's
had-
so
it's-
insensitive and makes people angry, I guess.
If
I
you
love
I
had
it
like
so
it.
Because
much.
it's egregious.
I will
Thomas.
listen to why that's funny, but it's
Thomas.
100% not.
If you had told me that you had made that up, I would have believed you.
I did not make it up. I just came across it on the internet. It was one of the only good ones.
Yeah, because the internet's stupid, and so is that joke. And dead babies are a joke. Y'all are dumb. I don't know what to say to you about that.
Dude, dead babies, man. Dude, like a prom night dumpster baby joke is hilarious.
Oh my God,
Oh my
Scott.
Prom night dumpster baby. Like it
Wow.
That was on Family Guy.
How do we
Yes.
go from this, talking about this?
Man, like that's the thing, man. I just don't fucking. If I actually like took it serious, it'd be like, oh, that's man, that's rough.
Yeah, I don't take it seriously. I just think it's
don't.
funny because people get incensed by it. Because it's stupid. It's like just trying to piss people off. And I mean, you don't tell these jokes to your grandmother. You know what I mean?
I would hope not, man.
Dude, unless your grandma is real cool.
Yeah, if your grandma's like hitting the blunt with you, you can tell her the dead baby joke. Oh.
Does anybody have a grandma like that?
Nope.
No?
That likes dead babies? No, because then you wouldn't exist. So
No.
that's silly. That's
Marijuana,
silly.
Hitting the blunt with you.
That's absolutely silly.
Oh, one of my dad's mother probably would have hit the blunt with me. I think she was in her 90s when she died.
I mean, mine did, but she didn't want it. So maybe I might have been tried.
I feel like if you've gotten to like 90, that's like a thing of like, okay, you know what? Like, try the drugs. Go ahead and see.
I'm doing heavy drugs when I get like 70, Brett.
You're doing them right now. What are you even talking about?
That's actually very true.
Dude, well, I would bet the people who are like 30 at Woodstock are probably like, they'd probably be cool to smoke a blunt with now when they're 90, right? Because those people
They were
are
like
probably
30
like
at Woodstock.
Now. Yeah, I mean, those people are probably like 90 now. I mean, that's like, oh man, I'll tell you that time I saw Jim Morrison. Oh, man. I love Guns N' Roses, bro. Let's go.
Wait, what?
Nah.
That's the wrong guy. That's the wrong guy.
Is that their next sentence? Man, Guns N' Roses are so sick, man. Love Guns N' Roses.
That's only like 30 years old, though.
Nah, man, I'd be like, you heard of Hanson? You heard of Hanson, man? How long?
Hanson, oh my God.
I'm pretty sure they'd punch you in the face.
If you don't have Bop on your playlist, like, we're not friends, bro. We're just
Oh
not.
my
We're
God.
acquaintances.
Bop.
You know,
That's
Somebody
like
sing it right
a
now.
Hanson actually
that's a classic VHS take.
Dude, Hanson has a solid following. Like, they honestly,
Yeah, I'm part of it.
Are you
It's a
really?
deep cut.
Have they
I'm the
have
president.
they stayed independent?
Oh, you just called me on the lie. I don't know. I have nothing to do with Hanson. That was a good call. That was good. You know, it's smart.
No, I don't.
Way to go.
I was being serious. I don't remember. But yeah, you would think like, oh, they had a couple hits, like they had their moment right, and then they kind of phased out. No, they're still going.
They're still a band.
Yeah,
Dude,
like for real, and they're producing new content, so somebody's buying it.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, I will purchase their content. So about epistemology, guys. What are we talking
Yeah.
You don't want
good show.
more. You don't want more of the jokes. No more
I
jokes.
prefer,
Okay.
I prefer more
Epistemology.
dead baby jokes, but I do like jokes. But again, it's your show.
I don't know of any good jokes. I had to look that one up. I'm not a connoisseur of dead baby jokes.
I appreciate
What,
that. I appreciate that. Please don't be a connoisseur of that.
Why was Jupiter's party terrible? Jupiter threw a party. Saturn was there. Venus was there. Maybe even Pluto was there. But it wasn't great. Why? What happened?
Oh man.
The
No
sun
clue.
exploded. I don't know.
No. You ready for this stupid?
We're ready,
I'm ready. I'm ready.
He didn't plan it.
Oh my God.
Gold. That is pure gold, Brett. Oh my
How
god.
dumb is that one?
That's great. If
The
you're a
student's
dad,
like-
you actually think it's funny. I think it's
Yeah,
hilarious.
exactly. And the
Some
students
dad
are like,
jokes.
I'm laughing.
that's not funny. And I'm like, hey, you know what? Nobody cares what you think. That's literally my
So
response.
true. Oh man, so true. I love it.
Yeah, if you want to talk about epistemology, we can.
I
For
don't.
total.
I don't care. Yeah.
What you want to talk about in epistemology?
Me? No, I don't.
I
mean,
Just,
you know
I'm
my
fucking
deal.
with you.
I personally heard your.
Transcendental, like Jesus is Lord. Let's go. You know.
All right.
We don't have to talk about it.
You think Jesus ever smoked weed?
Nope.
Damn it.
I mean, what is the? Is it the altered state? Is that the issue?
Your body is a temple.
Did Jesus drink alcohol?
Well, yeah, but a lot of people do stuff to their body.
Wine, alcoholic wine.
I don't know if Jesus'
He drank
body was
wine.
a temple, but
Dude, Josh, he for sure drank wine, right? Like he's there with the dudes. Like what else are they gonna do? Like, you know, they're spreading the ministry, but he drank wine. No,
He turned water into wine in the
I'm being
wedding,
serious.
and then he was
Didn't he
accused by
turn
the
water? I'm
Pharisees
pretty
of
sure he turned
drinking
water into
wine.
wine at
So he
some
drunk
event,
wine, alcoholic
right?
wine.
Yeah,
Forget
it's
about
at the
this.
wedding.
That's right.
okay.
That's right. Yeah, I mean, I don't know of any
But
non-alcoholic ancient wine.
they didn't. But you know what though? They didn't really.
Budweiser
Like,
Zero didn't exist
They were
back
doing
then.
it with
It's crazy.
every meal, right? As part of prayer and other stuff. So like, to them, it was just a normal. They were doing it all the. Plus, it was probably a lot of the times it was better than the water.
Mm-hmm.
You know.
So what's interesting about that's Jesus' first miracle, right? He's at a wedding. At weddings, they like to party. They bring out the good wine first, and they save the bad wine for last, right? Because you get someone intoxicated. I drink the good stuff first, and now I don't care what I'm drinking later, right? But what did Jesus do? He brought out the best wine last, right? That was his deal. He changed water to wine and gave it to everybody. So yeah, I think Jesus drank alcohol. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I think that like everything on this earth, it's made to be enjoyed in moderation. So I'm not. I don't think Jesus was saying, "Hey, everybody get hammered all the time," but I do think he was saying, "Hey, let's party. Here's some alcohol. It will help you." And Timothy was actually encouraged to drink alcohol to help with his physical ailments by Paul. So yeah, there's nothing wrong with alcohol.
So
it's
why?
a big Christian misnomer, especially in Southern Baptist culture.
So
And evangelical free culture.
So I
don't
have
drink.
a quick question. So I have a quick question then. Why would it? I'm not saying that weed was growing in the Middle East at that time and that he had just like access to it. But what would be wrong with him smoking weed?
I don't think there would be anything wrong with Jesus smoking weed. I do not think he did it because I don't think that he had any reason to engage in that
Yeah, I mean, there was no
behavior.
access to it probably either. So I do understand that.
Sure, but again, if you look up, and I'm not going to type it in the chat because I'm super lazy, but if you look up, "Is Marijuana a Sin?" from Apologia Church in Tempe, Arizona by Jeff Durbin, they'll kind of go through the reasons why marijuana is actually not a sin to smoke. But yeah, I don't think there's anything wrong with smoking marijuana for specific reasons.
Yes, okay, I'm with you on that. I don't, maybe some people
that he did because there was no reason to. I think that he did engage in drinking alcohol with people because it was a celebratory.
There's some people that don't need to be on drugs at all, Josh. I'm with you on that. But go ahead, Brett. I'm sorry I cut you off.
No, I was just gonna say, I was agreeing. I was saying that, like, you know, it's not wine at that time is not like a substance, more so like just it was ceremony and celebration, right? And then I was gonna say, I think that if you think about something like marijuana, like it technically does grow from the earth. The one I would be concerned about is something like opioids, because
opium grows from the earth.
Well, yeah, but opioids at the level, you know, the opium.
Oh yeah, synthetic
opioids.
opioids. Yes, understood.
Yeah, and that just really, like, to me, that's where the line is kind of like, okay, like that literally, you're putting some pharmaceutical crap, and you know, it's not it's created in a lab. I mean, you could say so many other things are too, but yeah.
I was about to say, all the medication that I'm taking
apparently
is
many of the oils,
synthetic as hell.
Yeah.
Apparently many of the oils they
natural
used back
remedies
then
for
were,
bipolar,
had cannabis extracts.
I do smoke weed though.
Frankincense,
for it, so
when burned, is a natural antidepressant, psychoactive, which was burnt in every temple. So they were heavily using like all sorts of drugs back then. So cannabis would have been the mildest of all of them. There's a theory, isn't there?
I wonder if any of the disciples were tripping on shrooms. I mean, just anybody. I mean, if Jesus couldn't do it, I understood. But like the disciples could
have
like
a whole
get a
theory
little
of
party time. You know what I mean?
The whole myth was really talking about mushrooms, like Christ and God were actually mushrooms.
Oh yeah.
Bit wild, but
I've heard that hypothesis before.
I read that a while ago.
Interesting. It is a bit wild. I don't know though.
I ran into a couple people in near San Francisco, they're actually convinced it's the real story and that everything else is a conspiracy. Which I was like,
San
all
Francisco.
right, man. I had it, Josh. I was like, hey, look, I get it. Like, you don't like whatever religious figures, but like, don't just like say that so that you can go take some mushrooms. Like, come on, buddy. Like,
just go take mushrooms.
Yeah, just go.
Yes.
Why are you bringing Jesus into your mess? Like, just do it.
Go take mushrooms. Make sure you drink some water. Don't sleep next to
I implore everyone to moderately try mushrooms because they're extremely easy on you and they're awesome.
If you're a Christian, don't do it.
Yeah. If you're a Christian, follow Josh's advice.
Thank you. Anybody else, do whatever you want. Just kidding.
Yes, there we go. Oh, do whatever I want? Okay. Robin Banks, here I come.
Oh, man.
Hey, rob whatever bank you want. Just don't rob my house. You'd be straight.
Just don't rob your house. Okay. I don't want to be shot. I'm good.
I'd never shoot you. If you rob my house, I'd be like, Thomas, just take the TV.
No, why are you stealing my silverware?
Just go, bro. Thomas? I got you, man. I'll buy you.
I just have like all my pockets stuffed with your silverware and like your copper pipes and shit.
But that's an interesting debate about amongst Christians, like what is the appropriate amount of, lethal force? Like, are we pacifists? How do we feel about war? That's an interesting debate amongst Christians, in that regard.
Yeah, I'm a pacifist up to a point. I mean, I'm not going to let somebody kill me. I'm not going to let somebody kill my family or friends. But other than that,
there are actually prominent evangelical leaders that would disagree with you as Christians, and they would say, hey, like, you should just let people come in and do whatever they want to your house. And
no,
100%, that's wrong. That's biblically wrong. Yeah, not at all.
Yeah, I think you should protect your home because that's your place of peace. But and you should protect those in your home.
Yeah, I'm first and foremost. I will protect my family and other image bearers of God. Honestly, if you came to my house right now and took my TV, I probably wouldn't care. Like, look, dude, just take it. I don't care.
If I can get out of the house with your TV, I'd feel lucky.
I'm not gonna shoot you over it. You know what I mean?
Okay.
It's a big TV.
All right, cool.
It's a big TV.
I was about to say I probably wouldn't be able to get out.
It's like 13 inches. It's big, bro.
It's 13 inches. That's like the smallest computer monitor ever.
Hey, it's all I can afford, bro. All right, I got a big family.
Oh my god! Yeah, I'm just kidding. Well, shit, guys, we're running out of stuff to talk about. What? Anybody feeling anything right now? Because if not, we can move this bad boy over to the Discord for a little while.
Yeah, let's go over there. I'll take my shirt off. It'd be great.
Oh, sweet. Okay.
What?
All right. Well, guys, it has been really fun tonight. All the listeners, thank you so much for coming and hearing my lecture. I appreciate it. And please subscribe to the Pangburn Hangout. Please come join us on the Pangburn Discord, which is on Travis Pangburn's philosophy channel on YouTube. In the top right corner, you'll see the Discord link. And come join us for a talk. We're usually on there on the weekend nights and sometimes during the days in the week. But, yep, let's go on to Discord, guys. And thanks and good night.